and especially for head coach Mike Tice. Yet with a victory today, the Vikings would finish with a winning year. But Darryl, I think the overriding issue here is how the Bears will approach this final game.
Well, Kyle Orton is going to be your starter quarterback today, and there's defensive and offensive starters that aren't going to see action today as the Bears prepare to play this as their 6th preseason game of the season. Lovie Smith's #1 objective is to make sure that his team is healthy and rested for that divisional playoff game 2 weeks from now. He wants to have his training camp team starters, a group which he has not had together the entire season, take the field 2 weeks for that playoff game. And there are no playoff implications for the Minnesota Vikings, but there's a lot of meaning for this game. As you pointed out, Dick, 9-7, a winning record for Mike Tice, really validates what he and his staff have done after starting 2-5 and having to face adversity throughout the season. And as a player, I can tell you this, there is no such thing as a meaningless game. The game that they played today, not only the effort, but their execution, everything is going to be evaluated by either Mike Tice or the next group who comes in as the coaching staff for the Minnesota Vikings. And for more on that, let's go down to the field to Tony Siragusa.
Darryl, you're absolutely right. You know, playing in the NFL, you rely on all the guys who surround you. One label you don't want is that of a quitter. We talked to Darren Sharper before the game, and here's his thoughts on how it's going to go today.
Well, I think you want to go out here in your last game and play well, because one thing that everyone knows is that big eye in the sky.
Where is that thing? Where is it?
We're not talking about the man in the clouds, the good man upstairs. We're talking about that eye that's in the sky within here. I think it's somewhere right in the 50-yard line so you get a good view. The eye in the sky don't last.
The camera.
The camera, yeah. If you're not playing well, it will be shown, and a lot of people around the league will be looking at that.
And a lot of eyes will be watching the performances today. And for Mike Tice, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, he has a meeting tomorrow with Ziggy Wilf, the new owner of the ball club. And the feelings are that it may not be a good meeting for Mike Tice. Carolina beats Atlanta 44-11 to wrap up a playoff berth and the #5 seed. And there is Robbie Gould kicking off for the Bears as the Vikings win the toss. Troy Williamson returning the opening kickoff from the 9. And the rookie wide receiver gets tackled shy of the 30-yard line by Brendan Ian-Badejo, outstanding special teams performer for the Bears. So Brad Johnson, who only has 4 interceptions, and that is a very low percentage in the NFL, re-signed with the Vikings in March, played 7 seasons with Minnesota in the early to late 90s. And leading the team out, he was the engineer of a 6-game winning streak, which nearly pulled the Vikings in. First down at the 28. Play action on first down, and the pass up the middle, and wide open is Jim Kleinsaucer, and a 15-yard gain and a first down at the 43-yard line.
Well, we talked about the evaluation process, and here's some guys on the offensive side of the ball. Troy Williamson, elite speed on the outside, but they want to see him be more complete as a receiver. Richard Angulo, the tight end, they like him very much here. And Cedric Faison, he's been a short yardage goal line runner, but they want to get him more snaps in field. They want to see how he runs between the 20s.
Alfonso Boone and Israel Adonijah are the 2 tackles inside for the Bears. And a first down on the Minnesota 43. And coming right in and smashing after the handoff to Bennett is Alex Brown, having a huge year for the great defensive team, the Bears.
Well, there's been a lot of guys that have had great seasons, but Alex Brown, you got to put him up there. You hear a lot about Brian Urlacher and Tommy Harris, but the pressure from the outside between Alex Brown and Adewale Ogunleye has been excellent all season long, and he has made some tremendous strides, and he's one of those guys that signed long-term for this Bears defense.
6-yard loss on the year, 7 sacks this season, a career high for Brown. Speaking of Ogunleye, Michael Haynes starting in place of him, Tank Johnson in place of Ian Scott. Second down and long, 2nd and 16. Brad Johnson's pass, and it's nearly picked off by Nathan Basher, and that's all he's done this year. And that will bring up 3rd down and 16, the pass intended for Travis Taylor.
The important thing for Lovie Smith is the #1 objective, get these guys out of the game healthy. And there's your 3 really important guys, in my opinion. Mike Brown, he's already out of the lineup, resting an injury, but Nathan Basher, Brian Urlacher, Tommy Harris, there's one guy at each level that's very critical to the success of this team-oriented style defense. So the #1 thing for this Bears defense, just get off the field healthy.
Troy Williamson The rookie, highly touted, in as the third wide receiver on third down and long, and they dump it off inside to Michael Bennett. The running back is hit immediately at the 41-yard line, well short of the first down. That was Brandon McGowan, the rookie, starting at strong safety. In fact, the Bears starting two rookies. Chris Harris has been there all year long, and fourth down coming up. And Chris Cluey in to kick for the Vikings, and Bernard Berrien,
Back up, guys. Back up.
who has had two flawless games as a punt returner. That had been a sticky point for the Bears.
Maybe the only area of uncertainty all season for the Chicago Bears, that punt return job.
Berrien on the 20. Down the sideline and a few extra yards, and Berrien out of bounds at the 46-yard line by the veteran Ralph Brown. We'll return to Minneapolis as the Bears go on offense for the first time. Minnesota Vikings 3 and out, and now the Chicago Bears go on attack for the first time. Kyle Orton with a 10-4 record this season, making his 15th start, replaced at halftime of the Falcons game a couple of weeks ago by Rex Grossman, who is the third quarterback today. They put the ball back on the 33, and Thomas Jones with the carry, and Jones gets 4 yards on the play.
Well, we're going to have some guys out of the lineup for this Chicago Bear offense, and here's some guys that Lovie Smith wants to take a look at also. Bernard Berrien's really stepped up, more consistency. Justin Gage should get an opportunity for some plays. But two important guys, Adrian Peterson, but maybe more so than that, Cedric Benson. He's been injured the last several weeks, has a knee injury. They want to see how he is coming back off that.
Thomas Jones coming in needing 27 yards to go over 1,300, which would make him only the second Bear running back in history. Walter Payton the other. And Orton's pass deflected and off the hands of Justin Gage, incomplete. Meanwhile, with Jones getting 4 yards on the first play, he passed Neil Anderson and is second to Payton.
And here's some guys on the defensive side of the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. They want to take a look at Devontae Edwards, a cornerback, and Rod Davis, a linebacker. And Tony talked about it at the beginning. You know, the biggest thing that the coaches are going to be taking a look at, whether it's Mike Tice or a new staff that comes here to Minnesota, is the effort by these guys and the talent and execution of younger guys in the lineup.
Third down and 6, and Eddie Berlin, who has not been used since being signed, former Tennessee Titan, is in the game, and Orton with the quick slant, and the pass is caught by Justin Gage, and a first down short of midfield, a gain of 9. This is the NFC playoff picture, and the only thing alive is whether the Cowboys or the Redskins will be the 6th wild card team. The Redskins with a victory would nail it down. So next week's matchups in the wild card would be Carolina at the Giants, and either the Redskins or the Cowboys at Tampa Bay.
John Fox going back to the Meadowlands.
He was the defensive coordinator for several seasons under Jim Fossil. First down on the 46 of Chicago. And here is Jones as Orton falls down, and Jones works his way just in to Minnesota territory. A gain of 4. Sam Cowart, the veteran middle linebacker, on the stop.
We've talked about a lot of starters being out of the lineup, and Thomas Jones, maybe the most valuable player, especially the offensive side of the ball for the Bears. And some people may be saying, well, why is he in there? Well, he's just a couple yards shy of getting 1,300. And it's a big accomplishment in the minds of Lovie Smith, and you like to see that. You saw Mike Sherman do it earlier this afternoon with Sean Alexander against the Packers. So I like when you get close to the milestone and they let you go get it.
And the flag will have a false start penalty.
Number 60. 5-yard penalty is still second down.
And it's Terrence Metcalf, who has been inactive the last 3 weeks with a separated shoulder. And you know, once he gets that 27, it's 88 and out the gate for Thomas Jones today.
Oh yeah, once you get to 13:01, it's time to get on the sideline and take a rest. And you know, you kind of disagree with the approach. You think that maybe some of these guys should get a little extended playing time, maybe the first quarter. But, you know, you can't argue with what Lovie Smith has done this season. Almost every critical decision he has made has been the correct one. So I'm going to go with him on his approach this afternoon.
He feels Rex Grossman can get all the work he needs in practice. Second and 11, and the quick out to Gage again. And Justin Gage, featured early today by the Bears offense, gets to the 45 of the Vikings. 10-yard gain, short of the first down, with Henderson and Sharper defending.
Well, a war of words since probably late October between Pat Williams and Olin Kreutz. So that will be one of the battles we watch down inside today.
Of course, a lot of that is going to be nullified a bit, playing with a heavy heart as Pat Williams, returning yesterday, coming back from the funeral of the death of his father in Monroe, Louisiana. Mayfield passed away, and Thomas Jones stopped by Brian Williams. No gain on the play. Pat Williams also involved, and so there is Williams. So I think the Kreutz-Pat Williams feud tempered somewhat because of personal situation.
Well, absolutely because of that. But, also, it's hard to imagine that Olin Kreutz could have sabotaged his Pro Bowl voting. But when we talk about the Bears and what they're doing as an offense, you see right there, they've really struggled on 3rd and short, which their style of play. Whoa.
And a pass going out to Adrian Peterson on a fake. And Peterson, so a little razzle-dazzle as Brad Maynard throwing to Adrian Peterson, the do-it-all running back, and a round of applause from Lovie Smith and an 18-yard pickup for the Bears, and they get a first down on the 21.
Well, the one thing that this does is it forces every special teams group that you could face in the playoffs to start practicing for some gadget plays in the special teams phase of the game. Who says this is a meaningless game, huh?
It's
little fake punt?
You know what I say? Why are they playing it if it's meaningless?
Eat up that practice time, man. That's exactly what Lovie Smith is trying to do, is get into the people who are going to be playing him in the playoffs, into their mind, let them know, hey, I can do whatever I want out here.
Penalty flag is down, and Jones is thrown for a loss by Kevin Williams. It's a 5-yard loss pending the call, and it'll be an offsides penalty. That's a preliminary signal against Minnesota.
Offside. Defense number 93. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So Kevin Williams made the tackle, and he also jumped.
Olin Kreutz let him know that he jumped also. A lot of talking going on down there in the trenches today, Moose.
You know, they are NFC Senate rivals in the North Division. That doesn't go away regardless of record, really.
No, the funny thing is when guys spout off in the press, when they've only played one of the divisional games, you've got to play twice during the course of the season, and you come out and you call somebody out after that first game, man, that's just adding fuel to the fire. You've got to play him again later in the season.
I got a chance to talk to Pat Williams before the game, too, and it was sort of like throwing salt on a bad wound when I asked him about Olin Kreutz. He just said, I'm just tired of everybody telling me how good he is. He's not that good when he plays me, he said.
Handoff is to Thomas Jones, and Jones works his way close to the first down. And the thing that really rankled Lovie Smith was the fact that the agent of Pat Williams accused Olin Kreutz of sabotaging Pro Bowl votes. And he says, Lovie Smith said, that really bothers me that the agent got involved. Olin Kreutz has a lot to do, the least of which is trying to prevent another player from getting to the Pro Bowl.
And that's kind of one of those cardinal rules you don't break. You don't fight your battles through the press, and you never let your agent get involved with it. So, you can really empathize with Lovie's case there. That guy should never have been involved in that.
2nd down and 1 on the 16. And here is Jones with a burst down to the 11th, first down, and a 7-yard gain for Thomas Jones. And the Bears moving the ball, and it was that 4th down pass from Maynard. Fake punt and throwing to Peterson for the 18-yard pickup.
The impressive thing about what Thomas Jones has accomplished this season is the majority of those yards, obviously, when Kyle Orton was the starting quarterback. And a lot of times defenses were committing 8, sometimes 9 to the box and disregarding the passing game. So that offensive line and Thomas Jones, very effective against a defense geared to stop them.
1st and 10. And again, Jones, and he is driven back by Erasmus James. James, the number 1 pick, actually the 2nd number 1 pick out of Wisconsin, and showing that he's got great promise as a starting defensive end this year for Minnesota.
Well, there were high expectations for this Vikings defense coming into the season. Some people saying a top 5, top 10 defense, but it just really took them a while to gel and find out, how to maximize the abilities of this group as a whole. And, they started out playing a lot of press and man-to-man, and the winning streak, they kind of got away from that, got into something that worked, and they came together as a unit.
2nd down and 10 on the Viking 11, and the pass is caught by Gage, who gets inside the 5-yard line. And right on his back and making the play was Brian Williams.
Nice little route combination there. Thomas Jones clearing out the area, forces Brian Williams to kind of run over the top of that. That allows the separation for Justin Gage coming underneath on that slant route.
Pickup of 6 It'll be 3rd down and 4. And they go to Jones. And Jones stopped short of the 1st down. You could see the Bears were in position to get a 1st down and not necessarily a touchdown, only 1 yard with Lance Johnstone making the play. So the field goal team comes on, Robbie Gould. And I guess after the fake punt, you can expect almost anything.
Yeah, you never know now. I'm actually, if they would have gotten more yardage, it would have been interesting to see if this is one of those situations that Lovey would have liked to take in a little bit of some game time practice with on a 4th down and short inside the 5-yard line.
21-yard attempt. Gould had a season's high of 45 last week, and the field goal from 21 yards out is good, and the Bears have taken a 3-0 lead as Thomas Jones, little pushing going on, edges closer. 3-0 in favor of the Bears. Thomas Jones, a 1,000-yard rusher for the first time in his career. Now 7 yards shy of the 1,300 mark, achieved only by Walter Payton amongst the great Bear running backs in history. So it shouldn't be long. And Robbie Gould kicking off. Troy Williamson returning the kick from the 5. And Williamson is chased down from behind at the 26-yard line by Brandon McGowan. So a little over 5 minutes remaining in the 1st quarter. The Bears defense takes that field once again. Back here in Minneapolis, 3-0 in favor of the Bears. Showed you the NFC playoff picture. The AFC is complete. Next week's wild card matchups, the Steelers and the Bengals in the rubber game. They're in the AFC North. They have split the regular season, and the Jacksonville Jaguars will journey up north to play the world champion New England Patriots. Of course, all the action on the NFC starts on Fox next Sunday. The Chicago Bears. And we're going to have a re-kick, so offsides on the kickoff.
On the kickoff, we'll re-kick.
Bears were offsides on the kickoff, so we will have a re-kick. And there is Williamson back deep. And Robbie Gould, who kicked in this building as a member of the Penn State Nittany Lions when he went against the Minnesota Golden Gophers in the Big Ten.
I'm from Syracuse. I can't talk about Penn State.
Sometimes they eke into the conversation.
Right, Tony?
Me too. And Pitt Panthers. We both got to be quiet, I think, Carol.
And this time, Williamson going to the 9 to retrieve this one. Gets an opening and a much better return. A 28-yard return by Williamson near the 40-yard line. Well, Mike Tice was fined for scalping Super Bowl tickets. A rough year. The Vikings were sold to Ziggy Wilf. Struggled to a 2-5 start. Minnetonka boat disaster. Then Dante Culpepper was injured. Brand Johnson took over a team and has led them to a 6-2 record down the stretch. But they won 6 in a row, have lost the last 2 weeks to the Steelers and the Ravens on the road to dash their wild card hopes. So a first down for the Vikings on their 38. Mwelde Moore has checked in at running back. And Johnson's pass incomplete and a huge rush on the play. Right now for a game break, let's check in with James Brown.
Hey, Dick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secured the division, winning the South today. The combination was Chris Sims and Joey Galloway twice today. It took them out to a 27-13 win over the Saints. They are in the postseason. Dick Stockton, Daryl Johnston, and Tony Saragusa. Happy New Year, fellas.
And Happy New Year to all of you, including you, JB, and the gang. And the Buccaneers go from a 5-11 season to a division title. Second down and 10 on the 38. And the pass thrown away, and no one in the neighborhood wearing a purple jersey. And a flag is thrown.
Offside, defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty is still second down.
Alex Brown called for the offsides penalty, so they'll mark the 5 yards off.
You don't get many free plays in this league, and when you get them, You got to try and make them capitalize. So you got to go downtown on those.
Those Bears are making sure he doesn't have a whole lot of time.
Right.
They're offsides, but they're not stopping. Sometimes you see that defensive line hesitate for a second, allow that quarterback to take the shot down the field. But those Bear defensive linemen on that last play, they were offsides, but they didn't slow down a beat.
Boy, they're in your face in a jiff, and I don't think you can attempt a long one. Here's the pass tipped and nearly picked off. Troy Williamson was the intended receiver, so it'll be 3rd down and 5. Well, the tackling battle going on between the two outstanding linebackers, Darryl, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs, as close as you could expect now.
Yeah, and the great thing that Lovie Smith is going to do, when they come out of the game, they're going to come out together. And whoever's leading at that point, that's going to be your tackle leader for the Bears defense this season. Let me tell you, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs both want that title. This has been a great defense all season long, would mean a lot, but I like the way Lovie's doing it. Hey, when I make that decision, you're both coming out.
3rd down and 5 out of the shotgun, and the quick toss, and it's a Troy Williamson, and it's a catch and a 1st down to midfield. So Williamson, 1st-round pick out of South Carolina, pick acquired in the trade in which Randy Moss went to Oakland, gets 7 yards and the 1st down.
I think those are some of the things that Mike Tice would like to see Troy Williamson do this afternoon. He's a very fast guy. He took a short pass last week against Baltimore, turned it into a long play on a crossing route, but he wants to see him run the hitches, run the curls, the slant pass, the in routes, to become a complete wide receiver, not just be a guy that stretches the field vertically on the outside.
2 TD receptions in his first 4 games, and then it's been a long drought. 1st down, and a pump fake by Brad Johnson going deep for Williamson, and covered downfield by Chris Thompson. So Brad Johnson trying to take advantage of Thompson making his first NFL start, signed just before the year, played with Jacksonville last year, but really never got into uniform.
And does a great job because it's a double move. It's a hitch and go. Chris Thompson doesn't bite on the short route. And a lot of times you see that aggressive play on the outside. That receiver comes out, taps his feet, sells you on that shorter route. And all of a sudden you're breaking on the ball. He takes off down the field. Chris Thompson played that as well as you could play a double move.
Thompson starting in place of Charles Tillman, who's out with a bruised shoulder. Mike Brown, of course, not playing as well, which is why Brandon McGowan starts. 2nd down and 10. Here comes pressure, and the pass, great catch by Nate Burleson, and now they rule incomplete. Well, Burleson did not have control. Ball hit the ground, and it's an incomplete pass, but he was open on a great route run by Nate Burleson.
Nice route by Nate Burleson. Also a great throw by Brad Johnson. He's under pressure, fits it into a tight area, puts it right there for Nate Burleson, but he can't bring it in. After going 6 consecutive games playing very sharp on both sides of the ball, Minnesota's been a little bit inconsistent the last 2 weeks.
Under 4 minutes to go in the first. 3rd down, and again pressure, and the pass is dumped off to Mwelde Moore, and Moore is tackled right about midfield, so no gain on the play. And there's Tommy Harris, who's going to his first Pro Bowl, making the tackle and forcing the Vikings to punt again.
And they are bringing everybody on this play. Look at all the guys for the Bears up here. You're going to have 8 guys up on the line and only 3 guys back in coverage. Now he'll get the pressure. Here comes. There's Israel Adonijah in the face. And then it's Tommy Harris making the tackle down the field. So the ball's thrown, but they're turning and running to catch the ball carriers.
4th down and 10. Chris Kluwe, rookie punter, and a false start.
False start. Offense number 57. 5-yard penalty is still 4th down.
So Ronald Smith with the false start penalty, so they'll mark 5 more off and place it at the 45 of the Vikings.
You got the guys coming in to pressure the punter, but you can't take your eyes off this because, you know, there is no cadence when you're punting the ball. You're going by the reaction of your long snapper. So you see that pressure. You cannot take your eyes off your long snapper.
This kick, good high one. Berrien, fair catch at about the 10-yard line. 3 minutes exactly remain in the first quarter here in Minneapolis with the Bears in front of the Vikings 3-0. Bears over the Vikings 3-0, 3 minutes to go in the first, and it was interesting how adamant Lovie Smith was last night in saying, I have a plan, and I don't care about the momentum. I want to rest a lot of my players, including Rex Grossman, who's played just 6 quarters, and get ready for the playoffs.
Well, he believes what he believes, and he's not going to vary from that. And you know, when you talk about momentum going into the playoffs, I was kind of surprised at his approach, but he really feels that you don't need to be on the game field to do that. You can create that in your preparation during the week, and a lot of these guys that aren't starting today went through the entire preparation for the week of practice.
E.J. Henderson on the sack of Kyle Orton and a loss of 8 yards inside the 5.
A little bit of pressure up the middle. The Minnesota Viking defense watching the Bears. He gets inside John Tate. Nobody there to pick him up. Kyle Orton, not much of a chance. They're trying to run a double move on their own. He comes back to the left. He's coming to his secondary receiver, but he's got E.J. Henderson right in his face.
As a defensive lineman, man, this is when your game's got to go up. You got a chance of scoring a couple points with a safety here.
2nd down and 7. They go to Jones, and not much there. Jones getting back to the 5, and Pat Williams with the tackle, gain of 1 yard, which will bring up 3rd and long. And if the Vikings, with the moxie, as you mentioned, Tony, this is the chance for the defense to really put pressure on, something that the Bears are used to doing to the teams that they play.
And the other thing is you're down close to the goal line, the loudest part of the field. So another advantage going to the defense. Those tackles on the outside got to hold in. They're going to be a split second late on that snap count. So the advantage goes to a guy like Lance Johnstone or Rasmus James on the outside.
3rd and 16 on a delay. And here is Thomas Jones. And he takes it out to the 10-yard line. And that'll be 4th down. So if nothing else, it gives Brad Maynard some room to kick the ball away as he enters the game. And the Vikings trailing, looking at possible good field position.
Well, just part of the philosophy of what this Bears team is built around. You know, don't put yourself in a position where you can take that sack or run the risk of giving up 2 points with the safety. Run the ball, send your punter on with the full 15 yards to execute his kick, and then send that great defense out to try and regain field position.
Mewelde Moore back deep. And Maynard gets off a beauty. Great hang time, over 5 seconds, and here's Moore's answer. Flag down, and Mewelde Moore breaking one, gets into Bear territory, slowed up by Maynard and down at the 39. But you kind of have a feeling you know what that flag means back up at the 40-yard line, and another one shown back at the 10 of the Bears. So a 54-yard punt, but 2 penalty markers down on the play, and Mike Carey will sort it out. And it looked like Brad Maynard trying to work it out.
There are 2 fouls on the play. An eligible receiver downfield on the offense, number 58, and holding during the kick on the receiving team, number 50. Minnesota has the option of taking the 10-yard penalty on the end of the kick or taking it back and having it re-kick. They have chosen to have a re-kick.
So Jeremy Kane,
we will replay 4th down.
Left too soon.
Got the holding penalty. Number 50 right there in the middle of the screen, blocking in the back, maybe a little bit of hold right there. But because the Chicago Bear coverage team had a guy release early, they kind of dodged a bullet because that was going to be some bad field position for the Vikings. On a great job of reestablishing field position by Brad Maynard, but he's going to have to try and come back and hit another big punt.
Yeah, he had a 54-yarder, and the hang time was over 5 seconds. Now the question is, can you do it again, Brad? And Mewelde Moore.
And he was a little gimpy. You know, he was the guy that was chasing Mewelde Moore down. You wonder how his hamstring is right now.
Moore at the 45-yard line. Another good high kick, however, and Moore at the 45 and steps out of bounds at the 47-yard line. So the Vikings do indeed have good field position. 47 seconds to go in the first as the Vikings trail the Bears 3-0. Thomas Jones on that last draw play before the punt becomes the 2nd player in Bears history to gain 1,300 yards in a single season. He's exactly at that point. Walter Payton, Sweetness, accomplished it 9 times. So Jones, who has increased his rushing total in each of his 6 years in the NFL, and maybe one of the top 2 reasons why the Bears are where they are.
Yeah, and I love his approach to the game. It's not about an individual achievement like that. I mean, that's important to him, but his biggest thing is being part of a winning team. His years spent in Arizona, Tampa Bay, and last year here in Chicago, he's never been a part of a winning team in the NFL and gone to the playoffs, and that's something he did at many levels as a kid growing up, Pop Warner, high school, college. So this is his first real taste as a professional being part of a successful team, and that's more important to him than the 1,300 yards.
And you saw Brian Urlacher, who is out, replaced by Jeremy Kane. Lance Briggs also has come out. Brendan Ironbajejo replaced him. First down on the 45-yard line. Good field position for Brad Johnson, and the pass caught at the 35 by Travis Taylor, and a first down and a gain of 25 yards.
Travis Taylor, number 89, coming out of the slot right there on a crossing route. Good field by Brad Johnson. You saw it was on the back shoulder. Now, some people might say, oh, that's a bad pass, but you saw the two defenders right there, the linebacker and the safety coming in. A small window for Brad Johnson to get that ball into.
Vikings have passed in 10 of their 11 offensive plays thus far, and a first down on the 34-yard line. And there is Johnson, and the ball is batted down, and that was Israel Adonijah who got his hands up there, and 3 seconds remain, and there is an injured Chicago Bear. That's Brandon McGowan, the undrafted rookie from Maine, who was shaken up. And you know, you have to always remember that this has not been necessarily a friendly place for Bear players. The field turf, of course, that's where Rex Grossman last year in week 3 suffered his knee injury right on this field, and it looks like McGowan is really shaken up. Timeout. And Brendan McGowan coming off the field just a couple of seconds ago and replaced by Todd Johnson at strong safety. It'll be second down and 10 on the 34-yard line. And the Bears have installed Lenny Friedman, normally a center, at defensive tackle number 62. There is Johnson. And coming up to the line as if to blitz. Second down and 10. And a false start.
False start. Offense, number 40. 5-yard penalty is still second down.
And it was Jim Kleinsasser, and the Bears forced the Vikings into that false start beautifully.
Well, Lovie Smith mentioned that Rasheed Davis, a defensive back, might get some plays on the offensive side of the ball because of his experience in the Arena League and having to play both positions. But he didn't mention anything about Lenny Friedman, an offensive lineman, playing some defensive line.
Taking a page out of Bill Belichick's book. Darrell using the players many ways. Mike Vrabel. And the quick going out to Nate Burleson. And Burleson with a couple of nifty moves trying to get by Rasheed Davis. Gets 3 yards as the first quarter comes to an end. Low-scoring affair as it is. That is the end of the first quarter with the score. The Bears over the Vikings 3-0. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages. Entertainment on New Year's Day here at the Metrodome, and you can't ask for more than that.
Little pregame celebration right there. Get the courage to do that.
Going right from the party right to the game. Third down and 12 on the 36. Brad Johnson 6 of 12 for 50 yards. And Johnson's pass thrown behind Travis Taylor. And you see Brad not very pleased with that situation. And fourth down coming up. Rasheed Davis was defending against Taylor.
Even though the Bears are resting a lot of their guys, I mean, Lovey talked about the fact that he has complete confidence in not only his starters, but his entire 53-man roster. Not much of a drop-off with this defense, with a lot of guys on the sideline.
He has confidence in this roster. So Paul Ettinger, who played for the Bears for 5 years, with a 54-yard field goal attempt, and the kick is good. Very dramatic late signal by the officials. They gave it that little extra step, but Ettinger, the former Bear, kicks it 54 yards to tie the game at 3-3. He's at 8 of his last 9. 3-3 to score. Paul Ettinger with a 54-yard field goal. Not his longest this year. He kicked a 56-yarder earlier. And the Vikings kicking off. They had great field position. Had to settle for 3. Rashid Davis back to receive. And Davis at the 7. Rashid Davis and tackled at the 31-yard line by Antoine Winfield. Well, the Bears had a downer early on as Rex Grossman was injured in preseason. Kyle Orton became the starter on opening day, and the Bears began the year with a 1-3 record. But then they got hot. Starting with the Viking win, they reeled off 8 straight victories, and Orton struggled in the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the first half of the Atlanta Falcons game, enter Rex Grossman, took the reins back, and not playing today is the 3rd quarterback. They don't want to use him, and Orton is back in there for the finale as Thomas Jones picks up a yard. Henderson on the tackle. Here's James Brown with a game break.
Hey, Dick, all Washington needs to do to get in the postseason for the first time in 6 years is win. Philadelphia not making it easy. Mike McMahon hooking up with Reggie Brown, who blew by the secondary. Philly has taken lead over Washington 10-7. That in the second. Back to Dick Stockton.
Nothing would make the Eagles feel better after this disastrous year than to knock the Redskins out. Pitch to Jones, and the Vikings are there. Vikings playing very strong defense early on. Henderson again, and no gain or maybe a loss on the 31-yard line. Very active defensive line, Darryl.
It really is. You know, this defense has the potential to be very good. You talk about those guys inside, you know, Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, very disruptive. And they've got great pressure from the outside. They've really upgraded their linebacker level. Sam Coward's been a huge addition to that group. He's a guy that knew Ted Cottrell, the defensive coordinator system, able to help out some of the guys who were unfamiliar with it. And it just took them too long to gel this season.
But they did gel during that 6-game winning streak. 3rd down and 10, and the handoff to Jones. Jones will get a first down. Watch him juke the defense. And Thomas Jones with a brilliant run gets inside the 35-yard line. Corey Chavis missed him, and it winds up a 35-yard gain.
Yeah, his next run is going to be to the sideline for the rest of the afternoon, I would suspect. But here he comes. Good patience by Thomas Jones. Watch the move right here on Corey Chavis. Makes him miss out in space. And then just gets gobbled up a little bit from behind. I think somebody's got to let Lovey know that he got over the 1,300. He just went over to the sideline right now, being congratulated by his guys. He has really been the workhorse of this team. And you know, you talk about Tiki Barber and what he means to the New York Giants. You know, Thomas Jones is right up there with the percentage of the offense that he's responsible for when you compare him to Tiki.
Big runs for Thomas Jones, who goes out of the game with 62 in the contest. Here's Kyle Orton trying to find a receiver under big pressure here and throws the ball out of bounds. He's trying to get it to Bernard Berrien. So it'll be 2nd down and 10. Erasmus James, the rookie from Badgerland up in Wisconsin, putting the pressure on Kyle Orton. 2nd down and 10. So Thomas Jones, after toiling, as you mentioned, without getting much satisfaction with Arizona and Tampa Bay, finally reaching the heights with the Bears.
And you know, I was very fortunate to be in the playoffs several times in my career, but you can't really express to people listening, you know, how important that is. And there's some guys that never get that opportunity in their career, and I'm sure Thomas Jones will start to wonder if he'd ever be a part of a playoff team.
Adrian Peterson replaces him. Orton is going to step up and go deep for Berrien. And the pass incomplete in the end zone. Good coverage by Antoine Winfield, number 26.
And you know, the time that Kyle Orton spent on the sideline the last 6 quarters watching Rex Grossman run this offense, you know, he's going to learn some stuff. He's going to see some reads and some areas that Rex went with the ball that maybe he didn't go to when he was the starting quarterback. So he might have benefited a little bit from that. Maybe there's a little bit more confidence now with Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, to call some of those plays down the field. You saw a dramatically more aggressive game plan last week against Green Bay. We'll have to see if he gives Kyle Orton some of those chances.
There's Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, upstairs, 3rd down and 10. On the 34-yard line. And Orton getting time, and the pass to Gage is knocked away. Good defensive play made by Ralph Brown, the veteran, and 4th down coming up.
Again, some pressure by that defensive line. It's number 93. This time it's Kevin Williams, not Pat Williams, getting the pressure on. Kyle hangs in there, throws a good ball downfield to Justin Gage.
Robbie Gould will attempt a long one here, 52 yards. Just last week, connected on a 45-yarder, which was his season's and, of course, career high. He hit 2 from 58 yards in pregame. This will be a 52-yarder with Brad Maynard holding. And the kick is up, and the kick is good. And a flag is down on the field. Penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage.
Holding, offense number 63. 10-yard penalty is still 4th down.
Roberto Garza holding on the play. So that's a downer after the 52-yard kick went straight through by Robbie Gould.
Too bad for Robbie Gould. He hits a career long right there, but, you know, there's a good teaching lesson right now for the Chicago Bears. You get over to the sideline. That just cost them 3 points. And that is a critical mistake by Roberto Garza.
And, you know, this week, Lovie Smith said it's not going to be a week off. It's going to be a week as if you have a bye week. They'll have a couple of days off in work. He says this week we will just work on the things we have to iron out. This may be one of them. Next week, we'll game plan for the team we have to play in the divisional playoff. Now it's a punting situation, and Brad Maynard will be kicking to Mewelde Moore. And angles the kick. Moore with the fair catch on the 9. So now the Bears have the Vikings pinned back a bit. The veteran Brad Johnson going against Brian Urlacher in a 3-3 game. And Happy New Year from all of us to all of you on Fox, America's most watched NFL network. The new year, and it all starts the postseason with the wild card matchup next Sunday. 1st and 10 on the 10. Vikings have passed all but one of their 14 plays. Here's Mewelde Moore, and Moore gets slammed at the 9 by Alfonso Boone. Todd Johnson coming up from the safety position. And Moore stopped for no gain.
Maybe that's one of the reasons right there. They're not running the ball too often. And, you know, the one group that's really been banged up for this Minnesota Vikings all the season long is the offensive line. And we've got an official tally now. Brian Urlacher, your leading tackler for the Chicago Bear defense this year.
What do you win for that?
I think he gets a dinner from Lance at his choice of restaurant in Chicago.
There are many great ones there. 2nd down and 10, Brad Johnson's pass, and it's caught by Travis Taylor. 1st down, picks up a few extra yards, and making the play was Todd Johnson, who came in for the injured Brandon McGowan, who started today. Mike Brown, who is taking the game off, has a strained calf. A gain of 19 yards up to the 29.
I don't think Brad Johnson gets enough credit for what he's accomplished throughout his career. He's bounced around to several teams, but he's always had success where he's been. He's a great student of the game. I think he gets criticized for his mobility and his arm strength, but he's another one of those guys that just seems to be successful whatever system you throw him into.
Helped guide the Vikings, Redskins, and Bucks to the playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl as well. 1st down, pressure coming on, and the comeback pattern, and the pass caught by Nate Burleson. Makes the catch up to the 43-yard line. Good catch after he slipped. 15-yard gain. Rasheed Davis made the tackle. He has replaced Nathan Vasher at cornerback for the Bears. And how many of their regular starters were in the game? Many of them have come out since the start.
Yeah, Nathan Vasher was one of the guys that, you know, kind of surprised to hear was not in that group. You had Charles Tillman, who's a little nicked up, and Mike Brown, who's not all the way back. But you know, he seemed like the forgotten guy, and he's been so important to this defense. You kind of kidded around about him. Hey, Nathan, what did you do? You know, what's Lovie leaving you out there for?
From the 44, the quick pass to Nate Burleson, and Burleson getting close to the sticks and out of bounds at the 49-yard line of the Bears as we send it down to Big Tony.
Guys, just down here on the field, looking at the sideline here of the Chicago Bears. The guys that aren't playing aren't really happy. You know, just watching some of the guys who, when Coach Lovie pulls them out, they're not real happy that they're coming out, being able to look on the field and having their friends go out there and playing. I don't know if it's tougher to go and practice all week and be told on Saturday you're not playing at all, or having a little taste of it out on the field, Darryl, and then all of a sudden being pulled and knowing that you can't go out there anymore.
Yeah, it's natural to want to play.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And, you know, it's the coach's decision. You have to go with what he decides, but you know you've got the right kind of people when you're in a situation like this and you take them out and they're not happy.
Here's Mwelde Moore, gets open and is downed at the 37-yard line by Brendan Ayanbadejo, and a 9-yard pickup after the previous 9 and a first down to the 37-yard line. And I got the feeling, I'm sure you did last night, that Rex Grossman also wanted to play today.
Well, he made a statement to me that says it all. There is no substitution for game reps. And I think Lovey really can create the momentum and keep the momentum with his preparation during the practice week. But a guy like Rex Grossman right there, he knows that you're not going to be able to emulate the speed and the pressure that you're going to see during the course of a playoff game without being out there on the field on game day.
But who's going to argue with success? And that's what Lovie Smith has achieved this year. And a fake end around and a flip over to Corin Robinson. And Corin Robinson stays on his feet and finally tackled at the 35 by Leon Joe after getting 3 yards on the play. And what a revitalization of a career for Corin Robinson, the ex-Seahawk this year, Darryl.
Well, that's one of the things, I think, when you look at Mike Tyson and how he relates to players, you know, he handled that situation with Corin Robinson, I think, as well as you could. He told him coming in, you have a no-strike policy. You make one mistake and you're gone. I'll give you the shot, and you can come in here, and we're going to see what you can do. And he has really kind of revitalized Corin Robinson's career. So right there, you know, that's one of the positive things that Mike Tyson's meant to this Vikings team.
And a very dangerous kick returner. Hand off to Mwelde Moore, and Moore breaking one. Moore using a screen by Troy Williamson and gets knocked out of bounds. Troy Williamson, the wide receiver, with a huge block downfield and a 33-yard gain, first and goal, with Thompson and Ayanbadejo finally catching up to Moore.
Well, you saw the look on Brian Urlacher's face. He's not happy to have his guys out there and let it run like this, but this was all Mwelde Moore. He got the good block on the outside to turn the corner, but a great individual effort on the inside before he was able to get out to the perimeter and down the sideline.
So a huge gain with many of the giants of this Bears defense on the sidelines. First and goal at the 2. Seatric Faison, rookie from Florida, with the carry, diving in, touchdown, Vikings.
That says it all right there. That's Tommy Harris, Brian Urlacher, Jeff Blake, the only guy with kind of a smile, but he's your backup quarterback. It doesn't mean as much to him. It's 54. And look,
he wants to be in there right now, Moose. I'm telling you that right now.
Seatric Faison, he does a good job getting to the outside. Now watch, when he makes his decision, he gets north and south. He finds that little seam, and he explodes through it for the touchdown.
And Ettinger looking to add the 10th point for the Vikings. And the kick is good. It's 10-3. Keep in mind that the Bears can set a franchise record for the fewest points allowed if they hold the Vikings to 18 or fewer. Minnesota has 10 midway through the second quarter.
You know, just keeping an eye on some of the guys who are filling in for people. Alphonse Boone here, number 70, playing a lot of special teams and running around out there a lot. I mean, he's gassed out. I was watching him on the extra point. He doesn't have much left in his tank. These guys who are filling in now know what it's like to be a starter out there.
Well, you're a backup player all year long. Now all of a sudden you're starting, but as a backup, you're on all the special teams. There's Alfonso Boone right there. He's in the wedge on the kickoff return team. So he's taking multiple reps with the defensive group. Then he's coming right back out on the field. Now he's going to run about 30, 35 yards on this kickoff return.
Rashid Davis bringing it back for the Bears with a head of steam, and he is tackled at the 32-yard line by Will Hunter. Keep in mind, that was a very impressive scoring drive by the Vikings. They went 90 yards, capped with a touchdown. They lead 10-3. Vikings lead 10-3, and that's an insult to the Bears defense. They have held 8 teams to under 10 points this year. And there's Kyle Orton, who has not gone deep yet in this game. Something that Rex Grossman was able to do when he assumed the starting role. And a fumble on the snap and recovered by Orton. Loses a yard on the play.
Just a lot of little things right now. You know, you miss a couple quarters starting, and Rex Grossman's going to be getting all the practice snaps. So Kyle probably hasn't had a whole lot of work with the center and the exchange right there. And then on top of that, you know, you've got Roberto Garza in there in place of Olin Kreutz, who he worked with. So it's going to be a little bit different on top of that.
Terrence Metcalf is the only starter still in there from the offensive line. And down goes Orton, and great rush by Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams with a big play and a loss of 10 yards on the play, and 5 career sacks of Bear quarterbacks in only 5 games. He loves going against them.
Well, that's one of the risks you run when you get some backup offensive linemen in. They're going to be a little bit slow on that step down, maybe unsure of the alignment by the defense, where the assignment is. And I tell you what, Kevin Williams just immediately right upfield.
It'll bring up 3rd down and 20. Officially, it's a 9-yard loss on the play. Vikings lead 10-3 in their crowd, and a capacity crowd very much in it, even though the Vikings have been eliminated. And here is Orton. Orton's trying to go deep for Berrien. And the pass is tipped out of bounds, incomplete. And Devontae Edwards, the guy you talked about, the rookie from North Carolina State, who is coming in as a nickel back, doing the job on Berrien.
But he makes a heck of a play right at the point of the catch by Bernard Berrien. I mean, Kyle Orton kind of dropped that one right in there. Watch the play on the ball right there. Now, Bernard's kind of adjusting to an outside thrown ball. Both of them make a heck of a play on the ball. Devontae Edwards almost comes up with the interception.
4th down, and Brad Maynard will kick from inside the 10. And Mewelde Moore back deep for the Vikings. Short kick. And it will bounce out of bounds. And as Darren Sharper told Tony before the game, there are a lot of eyes watching, and the Vikings are coming up big.
Yeah, everybody's out here roughing it up today. There's Mewelde Moore down the sideline. Watch the instinct. Now watch the left camera. It's kind of going to go haywire here. That's our man, Kevin Santos, down. There he comes in on your right side. Hey, Kevin, way to go. Don't break that camera. Those things are expensive.
How about his recovery, though? He got up in a second to get the next shot.
What an athlete. What an athlete, that guy.
I got a call down here from some of the scouts. They want to know who this guy is, so we'll keep an update on that.
Kevin Santos. He runs a 4.340.
No, 20. 4.320.
I think he's 4'3". I think that's his height.
First down at the 45 of the Vikings, so they have good field position this time. And there's the quick toss out to the tight end Jermaine Wiggins, and Wiggins gets only 2 yards on the play. Under 6 minutes remaining in the first half. Dick Stockton along with Darryl Johnston and our field analyst Tony Siragusa indoors. Doesn't have to worry about the frigid temperatures and the hail outside.
It's nice down here if you guys are wondering, just to let you know.
We figured.
Well, you needed one the last 3 weeks. You've been in some pretty cold weather places.
2nd down and 8. And the pitch to Michael Bennett. Bennett going left and runs into a brick wall. Gets about 1.5 yards thanks to Rasheed Davis, who forces the play, as well as Jeremy Kane, who came in for Brian Urlacher. The gain is 1.
Well, besides that one really good individual effort by Mewelde Moore on that long run, not a big commitment to the running game, and that could be a product of that great Bears defense against the run, but that's an area that Minnesota really has to address. I mean, their running game has been non-existent all season long. There's been a lot of different players in and out, never the opportunity to establish it, and it doesn't look like we're going to get a good look at this running attack this afternoon.
They've rushed for 29 yards thus far. And on 3rd down and 8, the pass up the middle to Moore. Moore is hit and does not get to the sticks, as he is down at the 47 of the Bears, getting 6 yards. Good play by Jeremy Kane. Spent most of the first 14 weeks last year on the practice squad.
Guys, even though there's a lot of substitutions for the Bears on defense, one thing I do realize or do see from down here is it's the same intensity and the same speed. They didn't drop off at all in the speed on this defense.
4th down and 2, and Chris Kluwe kicking. Bernard Berrien is back, and an immediate fair catch signal by Berrien on the 16. So the Vikings in front, 10-3. Next Sunday, the NFL's 2nd season begins as the NFC's best teams go head-to-head to see which two will advance to the championship game. Coverage of the NFC playoff begins with the wild card next Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, only on Fox, America's most watched NFL network. Early finish for Brian Urlacher today, and there weren't many of the regulars starting for Chicago. Kyle Orton getting the start. Rex Grossman, the number 3 quarterback today. First down on the 16, and handoff to Adrian Peterson. Peterson going around right. Great move by Adrian Peterson and going out of bounds. Lovie Smith said this about Peterson. This guy is a core member of our special teams. He could be a number 1 tailback on any team. As long as I have a job, Adrian Peterson has a job.
Yeah, that says a lot about Adrian Peterson's character. And he's another guy. He's a core special teams player. But when he's been asked to come in and spell Thomas Jones or to take some reps as the running back, has just done a tremendous job. And, I mean, that's a high compliment that Lovie Smith paid to him, that he could be a featured back at some place in the NFL.
And came in the game averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Got 23 on that foray. And a first down and a slant. Gage going up high for the catch, and a first down to the 40-yard line and a gain of 21. And for a game break, let's check in with James Brown. JB.
Hey, Dick, Philadelphia not about to play the part of pushover to the Washington Redskins, who need to win to get into the postseason. Reggie Brown, his second touchdown reception of the day. Eagles on top of the Skins by 10 that late in the second. Back to Dick Stockley.
That could open the door, partner.
Yeah, that would help the Cowboys get in. Tough duty for the Redskins to go 3 consecutive weeks against NFC East opponents and come away with a sweep.
Here's the pitch to Peterson. First down on the 40-yard line. Gets a couple. And making the play was Henderson and Sam Cowart. The playoff picture again. These are the seeds. Seattle and Chicago would nail down 1 and 2. Tampa Bay wins the NFC South. The Giants, by virtue of their win last night, number 4. And the wild card leaders, now that's Carolina, number 5. And the Redskins, if they win, would be the 6th. Otherwise, Dallas has the chance later on. Next week's matchups will be Carolina at the Giants, Washington or Dallas at Tampa Bay. That's for the wild card game. Second down and 8. The Bears on the Viking 38. Orton's pass caught by Berrien and upended. Coming in to make the play, Antoine Winfield with the play on Berrien, and a 7-yard pickup for Chicago.
Well, we talked about, Lovie Smith making some great decisions this season, and I think some of the best are involving that guy right there, Rex Grossman, and Bernard Berrien, the guy who's caught the last few passes. An opportunity to put him on IR. He decides not to. They could be a critical part of this playoff push.
2-minute warning here at the Metrodome. We'll be back.
Another guy ready to suit up and get out there on the field today. Look at that. He's even got it all buckled up. He's raring to go. Got the steely eyes.
You have your son Aiden equipped with the same kind of stuff?
No, not yet. Not yet.
But he's a hockey guy.
He's into hockey right now, yeah.
Third down and 1 with 2 minutes to play in the first half. Bears fans in the upper Midwest. Play action. And the pass up top and overthrowing Gabe Reed, the tight end. So fourth down coming up. And Robbie Gould started to come on the field, and then they were called back. So with fourth down and 1 coming up, the Bears are going to go for it. They started to send their kicking team on.
Right, one of the areas that they've shored up is their punt return game. They kind of solidified that with Bernard Berrien. That was a problem all year. But here's something they need to fix. They need to get this 3rd and short thing corrected before they get into the playoffs.
This is one way of doing it. And they're going to run it. Peterson not going to make it.
Well, if he got it, it's all on his own.
Well, let's see where they spot the ball. Looked like his knee was down before that extra lunge, but we may have a measurement. According to that line, they did not make it, and they won't even have a measurement. The Vikings will take over on downs. Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy will have scores and highlights from around the league. And the Fox Sports ticker has up to the second scores and stats. And this being the last weekend of the regular season, our guys will also update the playoff picture for you. So again, the fourth and third and short, a problem for the Bears, which they'll try to work on this week. And now they're going to have a measurement. The signal had already been given that the Vikings had held, and I think Lovie Smith said, bring out the sticks, let's make sure.
Mike Carey's got some eagle eyes out there on the field. Holy cow.
A lot closer than I think they figured.
What, do you guys doubt me?
He had it by a mile.
Oh, yeah.
4 inches at least.
Well, you see right there, I mean, Adrian Peterson, he's hit 3 yards in the backfield. And if his knee doesn't get down, you wonder if the booth review comes in right now and checks the spot of this.
Kevin Williams had good penetration. Darian Scott also held him back. So the Vikings take over on downs. Each team has all 3 of their timeouts remaining. From the 31-yard line, Brad Johnson has a wide-open Nate Burleson. Extra effort by Burleson, and that's not what Ron Rivera and the Bears like seeing. A 12-yard pickup and a first down to the 43.
Now that's just a heck of a job by Nate Burleson out there on the outside. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 Bear guys there, and I'm waiting for one of these guys coming from the inside out to just light him up. But boy, what's some shifty feet out there on the outside to get to the sideline.
And you don't have many starters in there for the Bears defense. First down with 1:41 on the clock. Vikings in front 10-3. Trying to finish with a winning year. Flag goes down and the pass thrown out of bounds. But a penalty marker, and the big rush was put on Brad Johnson.
Holding. Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty and still first down.
It's Adam Goldberg, the right guard. So they'll move it back. Mark yards off for the Vikings.
And Tony, not only the effort and the speed, the defense looks the same, but they really don't back away from the calls either. They're bringing the pressure with the backup guys out there on the field. They really don't even change their philosophy either.
No, not at all. Ron Rivera is going at him. He doesn't care who is in there as far as personnel. I know I've been keeping an eye on Alphonse Boone now. I know he's not too happy about all the stunting that's going on up front. He's got to do a lot of coverage and getting around the end. I mean, he's hurting out there, but he's doing a good job for a big guy.
They dump it off to Michael Bennett, who is tackled at the 40 after getting 7 yards. Leon Joe make the tackle. It'll be second down and long.
Brian Urlacher on the sideline. He's into the game. Little catch right there. We remember him as a great defensive player, but when he was in college, he was a phenomenal athlete. He returned punts, kickoffs, he did everything.
I thought I saw him wanting to run with that ball after he caught it. I don't know if it was just a reaction or what, but he looked like he was ready there.
He wants to be in there as Michael Bennett gets 13 yards. And a timeout called by the Minnesota Vikings. And just shy of the first down there is Ron Rivera. A lot of people talking about possibly as a head coach candidate. Of course, he himself will tell you that probably could use a couple of more years of experience as a coordinator. Coming up again, the Visa halftime report, scores and highlights, and story of the playoffs coming up.
I spoke with Ron Rivera before the game also, Dick, and he did say that he was looking forward to getting a couple interviews, and he felt that he was ready to become the head coach, and he was just happy that his name was thrown in there. So that's one guy who's really looking forward to being a head coach in this league.
Well, Tony, that's a good point that you make, and that is a couple of interviews, because when you go through the process of the interviews, even if you're not a real prime candidate for a job, that's going to really help you when the time does come.
Absolutely. I mean, it's more experience, more training, knowing what owners are looking for in a head coach. And the other thing is I don't know if I'm ready to leave Chicago right now. They've built something pretty special with this Bears group.
3rd and 1, inside handoff to Mewelde Moore. Picks up 3 and a first down to the 44-yard line. Boone making the tackle on Moore. So the Minnesota Vikings lining up without a huddle with under a minute remaining. in the first half, leading 10-3. Brad Johnson again dumps it off down to Noeldi Moore, gets another first down, and Moore to the 32-yard line and a gain of 12 yards. Kane on the tackle. So the Minnesota Vikings doing anything but looking like a team that is just ready to just get the car loaded and get out of here. They're playing sharp football today, even though they're going up against backups. And another completion pass, that's to Jermaine Wiggins. And Wiggins gets 4 yards on the pass. And a timeout called by the Vikings. That is their second timeout. Now, head coaching candidates, and believe me, there are a lot more than these 5, but Tim Lewis, the Giant defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, great job with Washington with their defense. Ron Rivera right here, Jim Schwartz, Tennessee, and Scott Linehan, and here are some others. I don't know who that last guy is and whether he is a viable candidate.
Please get that out of there as soon as you can. I do not want to coach ever. I know what these guys go through and how much time they put in. I don't have that much time on my hands.
Pat Hill, Kirk Ferentz from Iowa.
Well, the success that Nick Saban has had down in Miami this year, I mean, just a fantastic job turning that football team around. I think all of a sudden now some people may be looking down into the college ranks for the next head coach that could be open, and 2 great candidates there with Kirk Ferentz from Iowa and Pat Hill out there at Fresno State.
Donnie Henderson of the Jets has been talked about, and there are so many good coaching candidates.
Brad Childress, offensive coordinator with the Eagles.
And another college guy, Bobby Petrino of Louisville, is getting some attention as well. 25 seconds to go. Vikings have 1 timeout left. On second down, pump fake going into the corner of the end zone. The receiver fell down, and that was Travis Taylor, and Chris Thompson was covering. It'll go as an incomplete pass, and the clock now with 18 seconds. 3rd and 5 upcoming for the Vikings.
Well, Chris Thompson's not going to bite on the double move, so you might want to go to the other side and check out Rasheed Davis, because that's the second time they've tried to get him to bite on a double move, and there's no taking from Chris Thompson, doing a good job playing smart football out there on the outside. Might want to come to number 21 side, see what he's doing on the double move.
That's Rasheed Davis, 3rd down and 5. Vikings already close to field goal range, and they're going to call a false start. So Brad Johnson.
False start, offense number 18. 5-yard penalty is still 3rd down.
And that's the last thing that they needed, a 5-yard penalty. Corin Robinson for 5 yards.
And here's one of the other reasons. We've seen Brian Urlacher on the sideline getting a little bit upset at times when there's been a big play. Here's something else. We talked about the franchise record in scoring defense, but staying number 1 in yards in the NFL. And they're a little bit more of a cushion against Tampa Bay. A big day by the New Orleans Saints this afternoon gave them a little bit of a cushion, but that's another thing that this group wants to accomplish this season as a matter of pride.
3rd down and 10, and the slant is caught by Nate Burleson. Burleson still on his feet, goes out of bounds with 11 seconds to go. Definite field goal range. They got 15 yards on it, and down to the 17. Rasheed Davis on the coverage, so the Vikings have a good chance of increasing their lead here.
Now, well, the good thing is that plenty of time to take a couple shots into the end zone. Again, a missed tackle right there. But Nate Burleson's been very elusive after he's gotten the ball in his hands.
5 catches for 55 yards for Nate Burleson today, and it'll be a first down on the 17, but the clock becomes the big factor. Johnson has time going to the end zone and overthrowing Corin Robinson. Just a bit too high for Robinson, and now 7 seconds remain.
Well, that play took 4 seconds, so plenty of time for them to take another quick shot into the end zone.
Mike Tice says, I want to finish 7-2 and have the team go 9-7. That would accomplish a lot of things considering all of the problems this team has had on and off the field. Remember, Vikings made the playoffs last year with an 8-8 record and also won a playoff game.
Well, 5-1 within your division, 6-2 here at the Metrodome. A lot of things for this Viking team to accomplish this year.
And here's Brad Johnson. Pass! And it is caught for the touchdown, Travis Taylor. 17-yard pass, and Brad Johnson is acting as if the team is still in the playoffs.
Yeah, tell Brad Johnson this game is meaningless. Look at this throw. In between the safety, number 35, Todd Johnson, and your corner, number 27, Chris Thompson. A very small window to get that ball in. A perfectly thrown pass to Travis Taylor for the touchdown.
And that is only the third passing touchdown against the Bears in the last 12 games. That is amazing. Ever since the Bengals hit on 3 of them, they have really tightened the screws. But Brad Johnson tying Jeff George and Brian Sipe for 57th all-time with his 154th career touchdown pass will stay on the field to hold for Paul Ettinger. And Ettinger's kick is good, and the Vikings lead it 17-3. So the Bears' chances of establishing a franchise mark for the fewest points allowed in the regular year look awfully dim. They had to hold the Vikings to 18 or fewer. And right now, with 3 seconds to go, 17 points for Minnesota.
You take a look. We talked about Brad's career earlier, and he gets it done wherever he's at. And it's not an easy thing to move from team to team and to get into different systems and be able to fit. He's got a winning record every team he's been to as a starter, and that is very difficult to do. I mean, the Minnesota, yeah, he's back here, but that was a different system from 92 to 97. He went to Washington with Norv Turner. That was a different system. Then on to Tampa Bay with John Gruden. There's a new system. He comes back to Minnesota, but because Steve Loney's here now, it's not what he had when Brian Billick was here the first stint through Minnesota.
Guys, I had a chance. We were talking about head coaches. I talked with Ziggy Wilf. He says he will have a meeting on Monday with Mike Tyson, and in that meeting it will determine whether they stick with Mike Tyson in the 2006 season or not. So Mike will know whether he's going to be here in 2006 come Monday, or maybe, a guy like Ron Rivera, if they do get rid of Mike Tyson, will be one of the guys who interview for the job here.
Well, one thing about Ziggy Wilf, last week, of course, the Vikings were eliminated in the loss to the Ravens, but he said he was proud the way the team played very hard and hung in there in the game. So Mike Tice doing everything he can to hold on to his job, and the Vikings backing him up at this point, 17-3.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting at 2-5, and you've got everything going wrong. Everybody's pointing fingers at your club. He kept this team together. It's a credit to staff for what they did, because that is not an easy thing to do. When you fall to 2-5 to start your season, you basically feel like it's over. And for him to keep that group together, put themselves in a position to make a playoff run in December, that's a great job by Mike Tice and his staff.
And the question is, did Ziggy Wilf see more than just that? And is there a deeper issue with him that will make him determined to make a change? Do the fans want it? There are so many issues that go in to a coach and an owner making a decision on a head coach. There have been problems here, there's no question about it, but today, no problem for the Minnesota Vikings thus far. That is the end of the first half with the score. The Vikings 17 and the Chicago Bears 3. Vikings trying to end up with a winning record. And Fox NFL Sunday will continue with the Visa halftime report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
The Visa Halftime Report is sponsored by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. With Visa's multiple layers of security, you're protected.
Playoff football begins next weekend, folks, and we will have the Carolina Panthers taking on the New York Giants wild card action next Sunday. Coverage beginning at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Fox. Tune in as the postseason gets underway as we welcome you to Studio 2A here in Los Angeles. Full house as we get you caught up on the scores. Chicago, Minnesota, Washington, and Philadelphia. Despite poor play in the first half by Washington, they're still in it. But the Vikings on top of the Bears by 14. We know Rex Grossman not playing.
Mark Brunell injured right knee. Questionable for this game, but he does start out of the backfield. Mike Sellers, 4-yard touchdown pass. Redskins 7, Eagles 3. Back comes the Eagles. Back come the Eagles. Mike McMahon to Reggie Brown, 33-yard touchdown pass. It is 10-7. Brown, second-round draft choice out of Georgia. And then Reggie Brown crossing around from 8 yards out. Another touchdown. And the Eagles now on top by a touchdown, 17-10 over the Washington Redskins.
Jaguars already in the postseason, comfortably ahead of the Titans by the score of 27-0. All tied in the Reggie Bush Bowl between the Texans and the 49ers, not at 10. The Jets picking off Holcomb 3 times in that one and winning it. The Browns come back to beat the Ravens, now 11 consecutive road losses by the Ravens. And the Patriots drop one to the Dolphins. Dolphins pick up their 6th straight, and the Bengals losing big to the Chiefs. Dick Vermeil retiring on a positive note there. The Steelers are in the postseason with that victory over the Lions, and the Colts over top of the Cardinals. Tony Dungy got the game ball in that one as he returned to the sidelines. Brett Favre may have been his last game. Victorious one indeed. And the Buccaneers wrap up the NFC South with that victory. The Falcons lose big to the Panthers. First sweep of the Falcons since '97 indeed. So as you look at the postseason picture here, the Cowboys are rooting on the Philadelphia Eagles to knock off the Redskins. If the Redskins win, they're in. If not, then they will have to hope for Dallas to lose later. But that's the NFC picture. And, of course, it'll be Carolina at the New York Giants on Fox next Sunday. In the AFC, all set there. Pittsburgh, with that victory today, locked up the final spot. Howie.
Yeah, nobody in the AFC wanted to be in the 3 slot, having to play Pittsburgh. Washington Redskins, offensively not looking good. Mark Brunell, you have to wonder how much that strained MCL is affecting him in the first half. I agree at the end of the game, end of that first half, taking the shot down the field, but Brunell did stare the outside receiver down, had Santana Moss up the middle. Joe Gibbs all week talked about how dangerous the Eagles were, taking the Giants to overtime just a few weeks ago in New York.
Yeah, and you look at the Chicago-Minnesota game. Chicago's got to be a little bit disappointed, even though it's a meaningless game for the playoffs. 17-3, they've got to be saying, well, if we had Rex Grossman, if Grossman was in there, we'd be winning this game, and he'll have 2 weeks to get ready for the playoffs.
Howie was pumped up about Doug Flutie.
You can't stop Doug Flutie.
First time since 1941. Some to local news, others back for emotional highlights with the Blonde Bomber. And welcome to the Visa Halftime. Time now for the Blonde Bomber.
Thank you, James Brown. Brett Favre being introduced to the crowd at Lambeau Field, many thinking this might be his last game there. He watches Sean Alexander, the Seahawk, his 28th touchdown on the season, new NFL record, 7-6 Seahawk. Alexander, 3-yard gain here. Now the NFL lead in rushing, 13-7. It is Green Bay. Brett Favre back, looking, lobs it up. Antonio Chapman, 9-yard touchdown pass. Fans now holding up the signs, hollering, Favre forever, one more year, saluting Brett Favre as he leaves the football field. We'll find out later in the week. There's his lovely wife, 23-17, Green Bay over Seattle. Detroit at Pittsburgh, Jerome Bettis and the Steelers. It's the bus, great ride. Let's watch this. It's Bettis, 1-yard touchdown. Hang on, folks. Here we go again. It's Bettis. 5-yard touchdown. A lot of power. 21-14. Pittsburgh. It's Bettis. 4-yard touchdown run. 91 rushing touchdowns. Ties Franco Harris and his 94 fifth all-time in the National Football League. Fans are cheering 35-21 Pittsburgh over Detroit. Arizona now at Indianapolis. Fans welcome Tony Dungy and his son Eric onto the field. Dungy's first game back since the tragic death of his son James. Jim Sorgi in for Peyton Manning. Hooks up with Troy Walters, 18-yard strike. It's 17-3, Colts over the Cardinals. 4th and goal, 22 seconds to go. Josh McCown, quarterback sneak, fumbles in the end zone, but ruled a touchdown. Went to the review, further review, comes back. Touchdown taken away on 4th down. Therefore, Dungy salutes the crowd as the Colts take care of the Cardinals 17-13. Congratulations, Tony Dungy, and of course, the Indianapolis Colts.
Good to see Tony Dungy
Absolutely.
back. Visa Halftime continues after this.
Vikings lead 17-3. A fake punt by Brad Maynard finds Adrian Peterson on a 4th down pass. And the field goal by Robbie Gould, giving the Bears a 3-0 lead. And Mewelde Moore going 33 yards, going out of bounds in a 3-3 game. And Seatric Faison with a 2-yard run. And then Travis Taylor on the receiving end of a Brad Johnson touchdown. And the Vikings lead 7-3. And we've talked about how the Vikings are playing sharp football in what could be Mike Tice's last game as head coach. But what about the Bears? Interesting about your former coach Jimmy Johnson's thoughts about the first half.
Well, we're going to find out if Lovie Smith's theory really works. Can he generate that momentum next week during practice? And the following week, as he's getting ready, finds out who that opponent is. He wasn't worried about getting his starters time today. He doesn't feel they're going to lose the momentum, but you start to wonder when it's 17-3. But always remember, his number one objective, come out of this game healthy. Now, Brandon McGowan got hurt. He's not a key contributor. That's not to lessen the impact of an injury with a team, but his number one objective, not to get any of his key players hurt, and he did that in the first half.
Rashid Davis returning the second half kickoff, still on his feet, and then finally dragged down. Your views, Mr. Siragusa.
Guys, I spoke with Mike Tice going in and asked him if you're going to approach the second half any differently. He says, the only thing I'm worried about is I want to score at least 19 points so the Bears don't break the record for most points allowed by a defense. Also talked to Lovie Smith about Alphonse Boone. We showed him earlier out there playing in the special teams and playing a lot there on defense. He says, there's no free rides here in the NFL. Everybody has to earn their money.
No question about it, and that includes everyone on the 53-man roster. First down for the Bears on the 25-yard line. Adrian Peterson, the running back, went in motion. Pump fake by Orton, going to Peterson, who bobbles it and makes the catch at the 31. So let's take a look at the first half statistics. Show the Vikings going through the air very successfully.
Well, there was not a whole lot of commitment to the running game. It was mainly a passing game planned by the Minnesota Vikings. Brad Johnson executed it very well. And, that's where you have the difference right there. But they've done a heck of a job.
And on the fantasy world, touchdown by Brad Johnson. Travis Taylor catching it. For the latest in fantasy stats, log on to foxsports.com. It's very tough late in the year when a lot of the stars are rested. Thomas Jones got to 1,300. Only Walter Payton had done that. He came out of the game after 62 yards. So Adrian Peterson, his replacement, running for the first down and going out of bounds at the 39. Chased there by Antoine Winfield after a pickup of 8.
And that's the challenge of this game for the Chicago Bears. We talked about Lovie Smith and what he wanted to accomplish coming into the game, and you run the risk of having something like this happen. It's 17-3, and the people are going to talk about it. If this style of play continues here in the second half, but he has the confidence in his entire roster, and you got guys like Adrian Peterson on that last play. I'm not going to second guess Love anymore. He's proven to me during the course of the season to be correct quite often.
Peterson going in motion this time the other way, and Jason McKee with a burst up the middle, and McKee, who is at fullback with Brian Johnson out with a stress fracture of the foot. That's a big loss, but McKee gets 13 on this foray.
Put him up at the top of the eye, put him in a 2-point stance. Your big fullback. Look at the hole he's got there to run through. Pat Williams couldn't close that hole down. Jason McKee gets up inside 94 right there, just a little bit too late. Good running lane created by this backup offensive line.
First down now on the Viking 48, early here in the third quarter. And they go to Peterson, and Peterson is dragged down. Kevin Williams coming in and penetrating and making a big play. A loss of 4 yards for Peterson.
You really have to worry about these two big tackles inside. We saw on the last play, Pat Williams, number 94. Now it's Kevin Williams, number 93, getting upfield immediately, getting that penetration. Adrian Peterson, nowhere to run with the ball.
Just watching these two guys too, Moose, they play great off each other. If one guy rushes the passer, the other guy covers him, protects the draw. They're just a good combination in there working together.
Terrence Metcalf, the only starting offensive lineman at right guard, still in there for the Bears. Again, they send Peterson out to the left on 2nd and 14, and the pass intended for Eddie Berlin incomplete. One thing about Lovie Smith, and you talk about Lovie Smith is firm in his belief, and it's unshakable. He's not wavering. Lovie Smith has said all the way, this is my plan, and he knew what his plan was going to be even before last week was over.
Sure, I mean, he's got strong convictions in what he believes, and he's seen it work. I mean, this isn't this isn't his first go-around. He's been with Tony Dungy down in Tampa Bay, seen the style work. He's been in St. Louis and incorporated that defense there, but he passes it down to his coaches. His coaches buy into the belief. They pass it down to the players, so everybody's on the same page.
Third down and long, and diving for the catch, and incomplete Eddie Berlin, and fourth down coming up. So Kyle Orton is now 6 of 14 for 59 yards.
Just comes up a little bit short to Eddie Berlin on the outside, outstretched, coming back to make a play on the ball.
And Brad Maynard will be back to kick, and of course everyone knows what Kyle Orton has done with a 10-4 record. Weldy Moore going back, but the Bears and their fans all excited about what they think, and probably right, a revved up offense with Rex Grossman, who will play 2 weeks from this weekend. Maynard's kick heading for the sideline and goes out of bounds, and they will mark it at right beyond the 15-yard line. Timeout. Minneapolis the scene, and the Vikings the leaders. Back here at the Metrodome, Dick Stockton along with Darrell Johnston and the Goose, our field analyst Tony Siragusa. The Vikings in front 17-3, and they'll start from the 18-yard line. Brad Johnson has completed 20 of 29 for just under 200 yards, 195, and 1 touchdown toss. Moore, Llewellyn Moore, who had a brilliant 33-yard run earlier, picks up 9 yards with Kane bringing him down.
Brad Johnson, when he goes in at halftime, some guys will change their shoes and stuff because maybe they're sweaty and, they don't feel good. He changes everything. The only thing that he doesn't change is his helmet. He's got another set of shoulder pads. He changes his pants, his socks, his jersey. And, I used to do the same thing, and it was funny hearing him say it because I had the same, reasoning for it. It makes you feel slow. And, when you're slow to begin with, like Brad and I are, anything you can do to feel a little bit faster coming out at halftime is a good thing.
Well, for a defensive lineman like myself, you couldn't get any slower, so we didn't change anything. Everything was so taped down, nailed down, strapped down that if you went in there and tried to change anything, Moose, it would take you probably the third quarter. So you wouldn't be able to play the whole game if you had to change it as a defense or offensive lineman.
Probably had 3 or 4 games, Tony, before you were able to change, right? Something like that?
That's true.
Meanwhile, a first down on the run, and now a 9-yard pickup on the quick to Travis Taylor out to the right. So it'll be 2nd down and 1 for the Vikings on their 37-yard line. Playing like a team just trying to finish the year. Hardly. The quick going to the other side to Taylor. And Taylor is dragged down, but appears to have the first down. Mike Green, one of the veterans, back up, who's had a shoulder problem on the tackle. It is a first down for Minnesota.
I really like the game plan that Minnesota has implemented this afternoon because, one of the areas when Chicago has struggled during the course of the season, when it was early on or against Pittsburgh, it was the pass completion percentage. The quarterbacks were very efficient throwing the ball. And you come out against this defense, and regardless of who's on the field right now, it's tough to run the ball against the Bears. So that's an area that you could exploit all season long was throwing the short passes underneath.
And this time the pass going out short again to Llewellyn Moore, and gets by one defender and is stopped short a yard and a half in the first round. Mike Green missed him. Leon Jones made the tackle, a 9-yard pickup, and so they are doing a good job, as you mentioned, going underneath and deep. Taylor and Burleson each with 5 catches so far from Mike Tice's Vikings.
That's why it's so critical for the Chicago Bears to be able to tackle, and the Minnesota Vikings are challenging that right now by dumping the ball underneath, allowing the receiver to run or throwing those quick little screen passes out to Travis Taylor and to Troy Williamson on the outside. You get the ball in the receiver's hands and challenge the defense to come up and make a tackle in the open field.
2nd down and 1. Vikings have had a couple of 2nd and 1s, and this time they'll go to Llewellyn Moore looking for running room, turning the corner, and may have enough of the first down. Todd Johnson trying to prevent it. The ball should be spotted just shy of midfield. It'll be close. And it is a first down. So the Vikings using the clock effectively on this drive, and they have been behind on the time of possession in this game by about 13 plus minutes. It'll be a first down just shy of midfield. This time Jermaine Wiggins lines up in the slot to the top of your picture. And a pump fake and a deep throw, and Troy Williamson downfield, and the throw a little bit too long. Chris Thompson was covering.
I still think they need to come to the other side. That's 3 double move pump fakes they're trying to throw over there against Chris Thompson, and he has been perfect on all 3. You can get that same play call, just change your formation to the other side, and let's try Rashid Davis on the other side and see how he defends the double move or the pump fake, because Chris Thompson is playing it well right now.
Thompson inactive in every game last year with Jacksonville. This is his first NFL start. 2nd and 10. Handoff is to Michael Bennett, who's come in, and Bennett, with a nifty bit of running, gets to the 42-yard line of the Bears, getting 7+ yards. Mike Green on the tackle. Our field analyst, here he is.
Just down here on the Bears sideline again, looking at the Bears. They're sort of like got a lot of wind taken out of them. They know that they can't do much about it because they're not playing the starters, and And just watching all the guys sitting on the bench, sort of frustration in their eyes. Give it a little bit of some reaction down here on the sideline, let you know what's going on.
Looks like
here.
a day at the beach, Tony, the way they're lolling down there on the grass.
Yeah, they're cutting their tape off. They're just lolling around a little bit. They just, Brian Urlacher just standing around wishing he was in there with that big grin.
Mewelde Moore with a burst. And Michael Haynes on the tackle after the Vikings get 9 yards. And a tremendous exhibition of ball control, Darrell, here in this third quarter with 7:45 remaining and another first down.
Yeah, they have done a good job, on this drive in particular. Now they're getting to the running game. That first half, it was predominantly based around the passing game, but now, some stretch plays to the outside. They're allowing Michael Bennett and Mewelde Moore to find the running lanes. And tiring out that Chicago defense.
Yeah, they're doing the job. An I formation for the first time today and a play fake out of it and going deep for Troy Williamson and covered well by Rasheed Davis in the back of the end zone.
We have seen some plays given up underneath and maybe a little bit of success in the running game, but this defense is built around not giving up the big play. And virtually every time Minnesota has gone down the field to try and hit a long one, the Chicago Bears have been up to the task defensively.
They have given up 17 touchdowns all season. And now 18 when you look at this game, 18 touchdowns. Second down and 10, and Lenny Friedman, who is the center, is playing defensive tackle. Play action. Stepping up, and the pass to Wiggins, the tight end, close to the first down inside the 25 with Ian Badejo making the tackle. And great job by Brad Johnson in this game. And you remember Dante Culpepper suffered a knee injury, torn ligaments in the Carolina game in week 8. He is rehabbing in Orlando and expects to come back full throttle next year for the Vikings.
And just some more of that adversity that this team has had to overcome throughout the course of the season. And you lose a guy like Dante Culpepper. I mean, he has been very instrumental in the offensive success here for the Minnesota Vikings. But Brad Johnson comes in, he gets the guys to rally around him and just does his thing. Nothing fancy, nothing great. He's just always very efficient.
That's exactly the best way to describe him, as Seatric Faison gets 5 yards and the first down. Jeremy Kane on the tackle. Want to remind you, next Sunday it'll be the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants, noon Eastern, the wild card game in the NFC, and the merry-go-round begins in the race for the Super Bowl.
Everything they said about the NFC last year completely worse. You got some. You're going to have some good teams looking from the outside in this year.
12th play of the drive, and they give it to Michael Bennett, and Bennett getting close to the 10. A flag is down. Haven't had many penalties in this game. Bennett on the carry, getting 8 yards. Flag thrown to the 20.
Offense number 40. 10-yard penalty is still first down.
Jim Kleinsasser called for the holding penalty that will knock it back. Talking about the teams in the playoffs, the Seattle Seahawks are the only team in the playoffs who had a winning record last year. All of the other teams, and that will include whether it's Washington or Dallas in the 6th and final seed, had losing records last year.
Yeah, not only the fact that they didn't make the playoffs, but didn't even have the winning records in the NFC. And that was a big knock on that conference last year. But they've come back. They've had some of the teams that were going through a rebuilding or a transitional phase step up and play well this year. So the NFC's back to be in a very competitive conference.
No question. The AFC, different story. A lot of repeat winning teams are back. First down and 20 following the holding call. Brad Johnson gets it off, and it's caught by Nate Burleson. Burleson getting inside the 20-yard line, and the tackle by Rasheed Davis. So an 11-yard pickup down to the 19.
Well, just watch Brad Johnson on this play. He's looking to his right. The whole thing's collapsing down in front of him, and then he has the presence to just get a little flick, and he takes away an opportunity for Lenny Friedman to get a sack.
It's tough getting pressure from an offensive lineman. You got to worry about this guy going off on the snap count. And I know it's going through Lenny Friedman's ride right now. He's saying, I can't believe you got to go and beat these blocks and then run to the ball. Usually we just go and we just block and don't move. But he's definitely feeling it out there.
Well, he's yet to play on offense this year, even though he's listed as a center. Here's Michael Bennett. Gets a second win. Bennett inside the 5. What a run by Michael Bennett down to the 1-yard line. Todd Johnson prevented the touchdown, 17 yards. Michael Haynes had missed him, but a great bit of running by Bennett.
Come on, Coach Tice, you can't take him out after this effort. Watch the job that Michael Bennett does here, breaking the tackle, staying alive, gets all the way down to the 2-yard line. And what's he get for that? A trip to the sideline, and here comes Cedric Faison.
It's like Warwick Dunn with giving way to T.J. Duckett, and so many other running backs who have to leave. Tiki Barber for a while with Brandon Jacobs, and a timeout called by Minnesota. It'll be 1st and goal when we come back, and the Vikings trying to open up a big lead. Vikings calling the timeout, trying to set it up now with a 1st and goal on the 2-yard line. And Mike Tice said, I don't want the Bears to have their franchise record for fewest points. Even 3 would eliminate that prospect.
Offense number 73, 5 yards, still 1st down.
187 points by the 86 Bears, 185 so far by this group. Adam Goldberg called for the false start, so they'll move it back to the 7.
That's just one of those things you hope to accomplish along the way, but that is not the focus today for the Bears. You know, they've got bigger fish to fry this season, and yeah, sure, you'd love to grab and take along some of those other things as you're moving forward, but this team has got higher aspirations than the franchise record for points.
Playoffs have to be number 1, and of course, any player or coach will tell you that. Tipped and incomplete off the hands of Burleson. Despite the fact that it was tipped at the line of scrimmage, Burleson had a chance to make the grab. So 2nd down and goal coming up from the 7-yard line. This drive so far, 14 plays and 80 yards, has used up nearly 8.5 minutes.
And it doesn't matter who's on the field at that time. When you make it to the NFL and you have an opportunity to walk on the field as a player, you're a good football player. And when you go 13 plays, 80 yards, over 8 minutes, that's great execution. And I don't care who's lining up across from him, because he deserves to be on that field.
And Brad Johnson, the throw, goes out to Mewelde Moore. Moore at the 4-yard line, gets in for the score. Mewelde Moore finished in impressive fashion, and Mike Tice has seen his team prevent the Chicago Bears from establishing a franchise record for fewest points allowed in a season. That was a 7-yard pass to Moore, who did a lot of that work on his own.
Well, you know, their running game and everything has kind of been out of sync this year, but Mewelde Moore has been making a strong push the last couple weeks of the season. Very complete. You've seen some of his plays with the football in his hand, running the ball, and he's shown he's a very good receiver out of the backfield. So maybe something they can build on next season.
Edinger with the extra point, and the Vikings lead 24-3 with just under 4 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Happy finish for the Vikings, the way it's headed. For the Bears, they have a lot of work ahead of them. Little friendly hijinks going on here amongst the fans representing the two teams. Meanwhile, the Vikings dominating, leading 24-3, and a smile on the face of Mike Tice talking to his receiving corps, and a 24-3 lead. And Paul Edinger kicking off to Rasheed Davis from the 5-yard line. And Davis is brought down at the 25-yard line. 20-yard return with just under 4 minutes to go. 3:53 in the 3rd. And the Bears break the huddle, trailing 24-3 on the 25-yard line. And Cedric Benson, their #1 draft pick, who was a holdout, 4th pick in the draft, number 32, is coming the game at running back. Play fake to him, and Orton in trouble, and down he goes. Back to the 17, Kevin Williams getting the sack. Orton thrown for an 8-yard loss.
Well, he's been a presence down inside all afternoon. Doesn't matter who they put up over top of him. Just a quick swim move. He's got help from the center, but boy, he's played a heck of a game.
7 sacks against the Bears in 6 games. That's his second today, and 3 times they've gotten to Kyle Orton. Second down and 18. Back on the 17. And here is Benson with his first attempt. And Benson very nearly broke it were it not for Darren Sharper. And for a game break, let's quickly go out to L.A. to JB.
Hey, Dick, Washington Redskins battle back in this one. Clinton Portis takes it across, a little 2-yard run there to make it 17-all. But Philadelphia comes back with a field goal to go ahead by 3. It is late in the third. Philly nursing a 3-point lead. Back to Dick Stockton.
And a desperate game indeed for them, the JB. Washington wins. They make the playoffs. They lose. The Cowboys, with a win against St. Louis later, would be the 6th team and make it instead. Penalty flags fly.
Start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty is still third down.
Steve Edwards, and getting a chance to play. Fred Miller, normally the right tackle, so a 5-yard penalty against Chicago.
And we talked about Thomas Jones when he was in the game in the first half, and one of the big reasons I think what he's done is so impressive is because of the guy that's out there right now, Cedric Benson. He's the 4th overall pick of the draft. This was supposed to be the guy that they built this system around, and a contract holdout, and things don't work out. And Thomas Jones never lost his focus and had a great year in spite of everything that happened early on.
And another play.
False start. Offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty is still third down.
John St. Clair. That's a great point, Darryl, because when Benson came, they say, okay, he's going to be the new guy in town. And he's been on injured reserve with a sprained knee the last 6 weeks. He was a holdout and started, and I think that really ignited Thomas Jones to say, hey, wait a second, this is my job. You're going to have to win it despite the fact you're the 4th pick.
Yeah, he was brought in last year when Terry Shea was the coordinator to kind of be that back that Priest Holmes was. And when Ron Turner came in, he's looking for a different type of guy. And Cedric Benson really fits that role. And Thomas Jones, maybe not so much so. But, well, he just proved to everybody wrong, everybody that doubted him, and had a great season this year.
Handoff to Benson on 3rd and 18. Kevin Williams makes the tackle after a 4-yard pickup, so it's 4th down, and the Bears will kick it away. You know, this is the second time in 5 years the Bears have gone from worst in their division to first. In 2001, they came off a 5-11 year, went 13-3, and really went into the playoffs in a head of steam, only to be derailed by the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional playoff at Soldier Field.
Yeah, but I don't think this is the same type of team.
It's not.
This is a different group. You know, that maybe was a worst to first team, but this is a worst to first and maybe stay in first for the next 3-4 years.
Kick is blocked and recovered by Green of the Bears, and inside the 5-yard line, so a block kick and a big break for the Vikings, who will get the ball. We'll see where they spot it, and Minnesota will have 1st and goal following the block.
The pressure coming right up the middle. Jim Kleinsasser, number 40. Somebody turned him loose right to Brad Maynard. Here he comes. Jason McKee comes down inside with Patrick Manley, the long snapper. So there was a miscommunication, a blown assignment in the protection. You see there, it's been quite some time since Brad Maynard's had one blocked. But that's not his fault. Somebody got turned loose up front.
And so Brad Johnson comes out again, 1st and goal on the 8-yard line. Michael Bennett driving forward, getting to about the 5-yard line. But the point, and that this is different than 2001, and this game points it out. The Bears are not interested necessarily in finishing up on a roll with the momentum. They want to prepare for the postseason. They finished on a roll, and then what happened? The Eagles came in and really beat them badly at Soldier Field. Lovie Smith says our 2nd season starts in 2 weeks, and that's all he cares about.
That's all this is geared toward, and it started back in training camp. And even sitting there at 1-3, he never wavered. I mean, he had the full belief that his team would put themselves in the position they're in right now, even at that point in the season.
Theatric Faison, and he is brought down by Israel Adonijah in a loss of 4 yards. In fact, we all know about after the Cleveland game, the team was 1-3, and all of a sudden there's a meeting of the coaches, and Lovie Smith said, you know what? You're going to look back at this day and laugh when this team makes the playoffs. And I don't know how many people believed him, but here they are. And that is the end of the third quarter with the score. The Vikings 24 and the Bears 3. And Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Well, the fans say we love you, Mike Tice. I have to say, you got to love the fans for coming out in full force today for this final game. You don't like to use the word meaningless, but the Vikings weren't really playing for anything. And a great crowd. I know they want to build a new stadium here, and great testimony to that is the enthusiasm that we've seen today.
Yeah, it hasn't. You wouldn't know that this was the last regular season game and that the Minnesota Vikings did not have a chance with a victory today to get into the playoffs. I mean, this seems like, some point in the midseason, a division rival in your own stadium, and they've been energized all afternoon.
And you saw Mike Tice's division record. If he wins today 5-1, and Ziggy Wilf has to like what he's seeing today, and that notwithstanding any decision he makes when he meets with Mike Tice tomorrow. But the Bears were in position to sweep the division for the first time since '87, so they had that going for them. But Vikings spoiling the party. First play of the fourth quarter, third down and goal. Brad Johnson with time, fires, tipped, incomplete, and off the hands of number 26, David Holly. Jeremy Kane was in the middle of the play also, so it's fourth down.
Brad Johnson got away with one right there, threw that into the middle of the field with a bunch of Bear defenders around that ball.
So Paul Ettinger, who has connected on his second longest field goal of the year, 54 yards. Jeff Blake, who is expected to see action, and looks like he is. Ettinger with the 54-yarder, trying to stretch the Viking lead. And this 27-yard field goal is good. And the Vikings now lead the Bears 27-3 on the first play of the fourth. Minnesota up on Chicago 27-3. And Darryl, what's your thoughts on the Fox's wild card game next Sunday, the Panthers and the Giants?
Well, I think the big thing is, you got John Fox coming back to the Meadowlands, so you've got that built in, which is going to add a little bit of emotion to it. But, the weakness of the Giants right now, the linebackers banged up with the injuries, played very well against Oakland last night. But don't forget, there's some injuries in that in the running back department for the Carolina Panthers. So, maybe that cancels itself out. But it's going to be a great game. I mean, it's two teams that I think, Carolina last year, we thought they were going to play themselves back into it. Tom Coughlin has done a tremendous job with the Giants. It's going to be a very well-played game with John Fox and Tom Coughlin as your head coaches.
Rasheed Davis on the kickoff return. And the Vikings don't do their best job of tackling, to say the least, as Davis gets past the 40-yard line with a 34-yard return. And as you saw, 27 points allowed by the Bears, the most they have given up this year in the regular season finale. Back in Minneapolis, and Jeff Blake becomes the second quarterback. Well-traveled veteran. Bears starting from the 41-yard line, and Jason McKee straight ahead. That's his second strong run, and 8-yard gain just shy of midfield. Kyle Orton completed 6 of 14 for 59 yards, but nothing long.
No, and that's the difference, and that's why everybody's excited to have Rex Grossman back in there. It's a much different approach when Rex Grossman is taking the snap from center, and a big difference last week against Green Bay. His first pass of the game against Atlanta when he came into the second half, a 20-plus yard completion across the middle. So, we always wondered about it. We debated it all season, but we've got a little bit of proof now.
Cedric Benson with the carry on 2nd and 2 is tackled just shy of the first down by Sam Cowart. And the one thing about Orton, and Lovie Smith said it this week, with Grossman now entrenched as the quarterback, he said we wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for Kyle Orton. And the fact is, you can't take away his 10-4 record as a rookie starter this year.
No, he did exactly what he was asked to do, and that's all you can expect from a rookie quarterback in the NFL. And he knew what his responsibility, what his role was, not to make the mistakes. He wasn't out there to win the game. He was to rely on his defense and a strong running game, and he did exactly that.
3rd and 1, and here's Benson getting an opening off the left side and getting a first down to the 44. Brian Williams on the tackle, picking up 6 yards on the play. Benson coming in as the third leading rusher. And, of course, Benson missing, as we said, 6 weeks. Who are the Rookie of the Year candidates? Well, we know Cadillac Williams. Got to put Kyle Orton down as 10-4. Shawn Merriman with 9 sacks, and Lofa Tatupu, who has had really huge for Seattle.
And looking at that picture of Kyle Orton right there, I think if he had he needs a shave. He needs to get a shave right now and just get back to that look he had early in the year.
Yeah, he failed the appearance vote, I think.
Swing pass out to Benson, who gets 3 yards. So, Tony, the appearance vote, is that like the Pro Bowl when the fans vote, the coaches and the players?
Well, and when you have the Pro Bowl, pretty much, the fans vote. Everybody's starting to be able to vote on that whole thing. So, I think you got to go for looks too. I wish that to be a big part of it. You have to look the part.
Well, hey, the big thing when we talked to him, when we first had him, when he kind of tried to grow that beard, I don't necessarily think you can say he did grow a beard. I think it's still in a process of growing. But he did it because he wasn't at home. His mom couldn't tell him to shave it. But I guarantee you, she's called a few times. And I don't know, the Grizzly Adams look went out a couple of years ago. We got to get that thing cleaned up.
You guys are tough.
I think you would embarrass Grizzly Adams if you told him that he looked like that.
You guys are very tough. Adrian Peterson and a 5-yard pickup with Napoleon Harris making the tackle. What about that guy?
Yeah, that's what it'll look like. Give him a year or two. I think that's the look he's going for right there, Moose.
No, but see what happens is when it leaves here, it comes down here. So, that you don't want to get to that spot. When you got more hair on your chin than you do on the top of your head, that's not a good place to be either.
One good thing is, though, when you start getting older, you start getting the hair on your ears, maybe the beard starts maybe overcoming that so people don't really look at your ears because long hairs come out anymore. So, something positive.
I don't know if we need to go that far. 3rd down and 1, and here's Eddie Berlin, and Berlin is stopped by Antway Winfield. No gain on the play. So it's 4th down coming up for the Bears. This has been an inspired effort today by the Minnesota Vikings on both sides of the ball. They have not allowed a touchdown. They have scored 27 against the Bears. Of course, most of the backups have been in there. Lovie Smith, well, he doesn't care. I mean, officially he'll say you want to win the game, but officially season begins in 2 weeks. 4th down and 1. And the Bears go for it. And Blake's pass is caught by Gabe Reed. And a 1st down for Chicago on the Viking 30. A 5-yard pickup. Blake, by the way, in his 14th year in the league, started for the Cincinnati Bengals for 4 years in the mid-90s and made the Pro Bowl back in 1995.
He is a great deep ball thrower. And, this offense, it doesn't feature it, but, you saw a little bit of it with Rex Grossman. We've talked about that. If you want to keep experimenting with your deep ball, you want to give Justin Gage and Eddie Berlin and Bernard Berry, some reps. This is a good guy to do it. He throws a great deep ball.
1st and 10 on the 30-yard line of the Vikings. And Blake wants to call a timeout with just under 10 minutes remaining. Most points given up by the Bears previously to today was the 24. They allowed Cincinnati back on the 3rd game of the year. Bears calling a timeout and now back in the huddle. Happy New Year. January 1st. Rashid Davis is in the game as a wide receiver, the defensive back. There he is, number 21 on 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line, and flags are down.
Start. Offense number 63. 5-yard penalty is still 1st down.
Roberto Garza, and no one calls a false start faster than Mike Carey in the National Football League. Nobody. I mean, he called it in a split second. No delay there. But Rashid Davis in the game as a receiver. Remember, in the Arena League, he had a prolific year. Now he's going to go out of the game. I don't know whether he'll get back.
Got to be in there for a false start.
He had 44 touchdowns for the year with San Jose. And anyway, he goes out of the game. 1st and 15 following the false start. Back to the 35-yard line is Blake. And this pass is caught by Eddie Berlin, who was ridden out of bounds at the 26-yard line by E.J. Henderson, a 9-yard pickup. And by the way, with those 9 yards, nope, not yet. Okay. We keep the best for last. And here comes Rashid Davis coming back in the game. So we're seeing guys playing offense, defense. Friedman was the center.
How close was he to a sack and everything?
That's right, playing the defensive line position. So there is number 21 to the top of your picture. 2nd down and 6. They're going to run the ball with Adrian Peterson and not get much. Pick up 1 yard on the play.
With those 44 touchdowns in the Arena League, you got to split them out to the right and run away from them. But as a defensive player, I mean, sometimes you're just a defensive player. Run a route. I ain't going to run a route. I'm going to go hit somebody.
What are you doing in here? So now Davis back to the sidelines. And Eddie Berlin replaces him. Justin Gage goes far to the right. 3rd down and 5. Pressure put on, and Blake gets away, fires downfield, and the pass is caught inside the 10 by Justin Gage, and a gain of 16. But right now, let's go to JB for a game break.
Hey, Dick Stockton, you'll see the Redskins taking the lead here as Clinton Portis takes this carry 22 yards to pay dirt, 24 carries, 111 yards, 2 touches. First skin to ever rush for over 1,500 yards in a season, but the play was a defensive play by the linebacker Lamar Marshall. Great deflection of the ball to give the Skins possession back to Dick Stockton.
That game up for grabs, JB, and so much riding on it with the Redskins in the lead now. 1st and goal on the 8-yard line. And Blake was going to call the Bears' second timeout.
Chicago, their second.
And we will take one as well. Just under 8 minutes remaining. 4th quarter, the Vikings leading the Bears 27-3. Back here at the Metrodome, Bears forced to use 2 timeouts on this drive. 1st and goal at the 8-yard line for Jeff Blake, who is 6 for 6 for 40 yards on this drive. Reed going in motion, and Blake being chased in his pass, and it is incomplete. Trying to get it to John Gilmore, one of 3 tight ends. Desmond Clark started today, but has been Gilmore and Reed for the most part. 2nd and goal.
That's probably one of the other areas. We talked about the 3rd and short. They seem to have gotten their punt return situation all cleared up, but the tight end spot in the system that Ron Turner runs here, the tight end is a key element to that. And I don't know if Desmond Clark, John Gilmore, Gabe Reed, that group has had the production he expected.
Adrian Peterson working his way inside the 5-yard line, and of course, trying to stay healthy. And as you mentioned, trying to get the training camp team ready for the playoffs. The only injuries today, Terrence Metcalf, the right guard, suffering a sprained knee, and Brandon McGowan, the strong safety who started in place of Mike Brown, also with a sprained knee. They had not returned. 3rd and goal coming up. There's the slant, touchdown to Justin Gage. And the Bears finally get 6. 4-yard pass to Justin Gage. And for Gage, that is his 2nd touchdown catch.
Well, you saw the formation to the right. You bring some motion in, you distract everybody, and then on the backside, you've got one-on-one in Justin Gage. He wins that slant route immediately. Jeff Blake does a nice job. He knows he's got the one-on-one out to the left and just pitch and catch for 6 points.
And Robbie Gould with the point after. It's good. And the Viking lead is 27-10. So Jeff Blake, appearing in only his 2nd game this year, throwing his 1st touchdown pass of the season. And the Minnesota Vikings trying to finish the year at 9-7. After a 2-5 start, and the Bears could drop to 11-5, but they had nailed down the number 2 seed, capturing the NFC North And very important to have a week off and a home game in the divisional playoff, and that's what you play for, and that's what the Bears have. Only Seattle, of course, home field advantage throughout in the NFC. Robbie Gould kicking off a deep one to Corin Robinson, and we'll go to the 20-yard line. What a game for Brad Johnson, though, with 2 touchdowns, 242 yards.
Yeah, I liked his perspective on this being a meaningless game, and he didn't mean it selfishly. You know, he wasn't playing this game for Mike Tyson, his future. He was playing it for his own future. You know, he's got a wife and a family, and he likes the lifestyle of an NFL quarterback. He's a journeyman guy, and, you know, maybe the next coaching staff that comes in here, if it's not Mike Tice, doesn't want Brad Johnson. He's put up a heck of a resume this afternoon with his performance.
And, of course, you know, really, you don't win for a coach, although I happen to think the Indianapolis Colts won it for Tony Dungy today in their finale at Arizona with all of the tragedy in that family. But you have your own, and, you know, the flag is down, the overused word, you know, pride. I mean, there's a lot more in describing what a player does for pride. This is what you do for a living.
Yes.
You're paid to play 16 games. You do your best.
It's a professional.
Offside defense. 5-yard penalty is still first down.
And one of the first guys I heard who talked about that was Marvin Lewis, you know, being a professional. And you know, that's what this is all about. Everybody who's out on that field has pride. And, you know, it's about being a professional. And we've got another, speaking about pride, we've got another one that the Chicago Bears may have another bitter pill to swallow if the Vikings get a first down in this series here.
9 yards. If they get 9 yards, Tampa Bay will be #1 in the NFL in yards allowed. On the end around, Troy Williamson. And Williamson getting the first down. So a 9-yard pickup, and as a result, not only do the Chicago Bears not establish the franchise low for points against in a season, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers become #1 in the NFL in yards allowed, and it's the shades of 2000. The Baltimore Ravens losing the #1 ranking to the Tennessee Titans on the last day. Remember that, Tony?
Yes, I do.
And what did it all mean in the real big scheme of things, Tony? Did that have any impact on that Super Bowl run of yours?
I mean, it was nice to break a record and feel that whole high, but it wouldn't have meant anything if you didn't win a Super Bowl.
Well, we're talking about some things that were missed out by this 2005 Bears team, and there's been a lot of comparisons back to that 85 team. But, you know, the one thing that they all talked about, you know, the guys on the 2005 team, which, you know, this is the type of guy that they have. It means nothing. You can draw these comparisons to now and then and talk about where our defense stacks up. But until we win a championship like they did, there is no comparison to the 85 team.
The one thing they can hang their hat on is that they have 5 players from the defensive unit going to the Pro Bowl, the most since 5 went from the 1985 team. Michael Bennett with a big burst. Michael Bennett in a foot race, turns it on, and Bennett will score. No flags down, 61-yard touchdown run by Bennett.
That is what Michael Bennett brings to the table as a running back. We've seen Mewelde Moore be really a great all-around running back today, catching the ball out of the backfield, making some tough yards. But when you give it to Michael Bennett, he has the potential to go the distance from any point on the field. And again, poor angles, poor tackling by the Chicago Bears. Chris Thompson and David Hawley had an opportunity to stop that for a 10, 12-yard gain, and they let him get in between and down the field.
Third touchdown by Bennett as a rusher, and Paul Edinger, the ex-Bear, makes good on the extra point, and the Vikings lead it 34-10 over the Chicago Bears. So too little too late perhaps for the Vikings as far as the playoffs, but the Minnesota Vikings finishing with a flourish in the final game of the regular season.
And we saw the defensive line the last time, the linebackers from 05. Pretty stout group right there, but I don't know, boy. Otis Wilson, Mike Singletary, Wilbur Marshall. And then you put them in that scheme that Buddy Ryan created back then. And, you know, you've got all those guys coming in the pressure packages of that 46 defense. It was intimidating. Maybe the most important thing that defense did was intimidate offenses. They basically revolutionized the way you play defense. They were the aggressor. They forced you to adjust. And this is a very strong group for the Chicago Bears in 05. Nathan Vasher, big playmaker, but some pretty impressive guys right there. Gary Fensick, Dave Duerson, your corners, Mike Richardson, Leslie Frazier. But that group as a whole, boy, 10 points in the playoffs is all they gave up.
Buddy Ryan was the defensive coordinator. Mike Ditka, the head coach. You'd have to say that Iron Mike and Lovie Smith are on the different ends there, temperament-wise.
Yeah, that's about 180 degrees.
Right.
From center for those two guys.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that sticks out when you think about both of those guys is they don't care. Both of those guys don't care what anybody else thinks about them or about what they're doing out here on the field.
That's absolutely right, Tony. As Rasheed Davis returns the kickoff 25 yards to the 37-yard line. By the way, that 61-yard dash by Michael Bennett was the longest run of the year by the Vikings. And, you know, you're looking at some of the starters on the Chicago bench. These are the leaders right now, but, you know, no one ever wants to be on the short end, whether the game is important or not important.
Yeah, but, I mean, Lovie made him prepare all week long. That's what he talks about. You know, he's going to be able to generate the momentum, you know, in their bye week, in that week of final preparation before the playoff game. He's not worried about what was going to happen today. And, you know, the first thing he's done, you get this game out of these guys' system. They don't watch it on film. You know, this is gone. This is one of those things that, hey, you knew what our approach was going into this. I told you Saturday morning what we were going to do. I let you practice all week like you were going to play. Then I come in Saturday morning. I tell the guys who I'm going to sit down. And, you know, they had to know that this was a potential outcome of a game like this. And I don't think it phases him one bit. I agree with what Tony said. What other people will say, it doesn't matter to Lovie Smith and the Bears staff because they are focused on one thing this year, and they thought this was the best way to achieve that.
Benson getting 4 yards on first down and gets the call again. A good straight-ahead run by Benson gets 5 yards, leaving him short by 1. Well, Coach of the Year candidates coming up, and a lot of people have talked about Lovie Smith. This is an interesting one because Tony Dungy's Colts, really, before they dropped a couple of games, far and away the best team in the league. Mike Holmgren, look what he's done with Seattle, and perfect at home at 8-0. Lovie Smith, though, going from 5-11 in this division, you know, might get my vote, not to put any of the others down.
No, I'm looking at Lovie Smith and Marvin Lewis. You know, Cincinnati, kind of a perennial team, similar to Arizona. You know, not a lot of success there in 2+ decades. And, you know, Marvin Lewis had a lot of work to do when he got to Cincinnati. And probably first and foremost was changing the structure of that organization and establishing a different mentality and a different attitude. And I just think he's way ahead of the curve, and they've had a great season this year.
No question about it, and they're going to a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. But when you look at, you know, Carson Palmer, of course, with a sensational year, he's like the quarterback to watch, you know, of the young quarterbacks in the AFC, along with Roethlisberger. But when you look at the fact that you have a rookie quarterback, because of injury, starting your opening game in Kyle Orton out of Purdue, and knowing that you're faithful to the run and strong defense, and look what he's achieved.
You never wavered. I mean, not at one point, and even at 1-3, you were able to instill the belief and the confidence in your staff and players that, hey, we're good, we're doing things the right way, and as you mentioned earlier, Dick, isn't it all going to be funny when we're in the playoffs and we look back and say, hey, at one point we were 1-3 this year. That's complete confidence in what you're doing.
And very close with the measurement, and no official signal is given, so it appears to be it is a first down.
You know what, guys? Talking about what we're mentioning out here about playing the backups for the Chicago Bears, this is making their team a better team. Because as Darryl knows, and as I know as being players, there is no substitute for actually going and playing in a game. These guys are the backups. Now they have experience. They know what it is to play out there. And in some way, sometime down the road, one of these guys are going to have to step up and go and play, you know, on the first team and be significant out there.
Well, the backup's getting a lot of opportunity. Well, today's game being produced by Bob Stenner and directed by Sandy Grossman. The associate director is Charles McDonald. The sideline producer is Robert Slosby. The associate producer is Wayne Wilson. The broadcast associate is Corey Brocious. The technical producer is Bob Mueller. The pregame show was produced by Scott Ackerson and directed by Bob Levy. The pitch going to Cedric Benson, and Benson gets to midfield. The studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. The senior producer is Bill Brown, and the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. We'd like to thank the rest of our crew, our spotter Chris Visser, Rick Odioso, our statistician, and Mike Eldridge doing his magic in the trucks. Thanks to all, and a happy new year to all of us on the production and technical crew. 2-minute warning here at the Metrodome. The Vikings have salted this one away against the Bears, and we'll be back with a finish after these messages. Two minutes remaining in the game, and the Vikings in front 34-10. Third down and 7 for the Bears. Cedric Benson with the carry, and he is knocked back to the 49, loss of 1 yard. Spencer Johnson making the play. So it is fourth down, and no punting unit coming in for Chicago. So Lenny Friedman, we talked about Lenny Friedman being a defensive tackle, not getting a chance to play offense, listed as a center all year, and is in the lineup at left guard. So like old Abe Gibran playing both ways today on the defense and offensive line.
What'd you do today? I got a sack and a pancake.
And we are going to have a timeout on the field. And we told you earlier about Pat Williams, the defensive tackle of the Minnesota Vikings, and coming back yesterday following the death of his father Mayfield in Monroe, Louisiana. And this was an exchange before the game between Williams and our Tony Siragusa.
You know, my father died when I was in college, and he couldn't make every game, you know, because he was too long a thing. But I felt that after he died, that he made every game. Oh, okay. You know, so that was like sort of some of my motivation to playing the game. Like even when my family couldn't come or something, that, you know, he was always there. So that's just something.
That's all mine today. Him.
That's it.
I'm thankful for all to him today. That's why I came back and played the game.
Good, man. Have a good one. Stay healthy. All right, thanks. Have a good off season. All right. Okay. Don't beef up too much now. Don't enjoy it too much.
Pretty good.
Good stuff, Tony.
Yeah, not an easy thing to go through. You know, you're losing a family member, and you know we've had some deaths throughout the league this year, and my condolences go out to everybody. But you got to look, and when something bad happens like that, you got to look at the bright side and how to use that in a positive way, and that's how I used it. And hopefully, Pat will think the same way I did.
Fourth down and 8. Last timeout called by the Bears, and Cedric Benson running, and the Vikings will take over on downs. Coming up on the OT, presented by Lowe's right after football, an emotional day around the NFL for Brett Favre, Jerome Bettis, and Tony Dungy, plus the latest on the NFL playoff picture. That's the OT coming right up after the game. So the Vikings taking over with 1 minute and 10 seconds, and Sean Hill has gone in to play quarterback, and a round of applause for Brad Johnson, who is congratulated by Mike Tice over on the bench. Brad Johnson completed 27 of 40 passes for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And so Brad Johnson giving Mike Tice 5-1 record in the NFC North, 6-2 at home, and the winning record. And
we talked about how important it was for Mike Tice at the top of the broadcast, because this really validates what he and his staff have accomplished through this season. A 2-5 start. Everybody knows the adversity that they faced during the year. He was able to keep this team together, get them refocused, and just a couple weeks ago had them in the playoff hunt. And he wanted Ziggy Wilf to move sooner than later. He didn't want to be left in limbo, and they're going to have a meeting tomorrow, and we'll find out what happens. But he should be very proud of what he accomplished this season, regardless of what happens tomorrow.
No question. And there it is. That'll be the last play. And the Vikings do indeed finish 7-2 and end up 9-7. The cards may have been dealt, and Lovie Smith and Mike Tice meet at midfield. And the final seconds being ticked off, and the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Chicago Bears 34-10. They go to 9-7. The Bears finish 11-5, but they have the playoffs in 2 weeks. A home game at Soldier Field in the divisional round. We'll be back here at the Metrodome. Vikings win here over the Bears 34-10, but this is the NFC playoff picture. The only thing open right now is the 6th and final wild card position. Carolina Giants next week on Fox. And this is Dick Stockton for Darryl Johnston and Tony Siragusa saying so long from Minnesota. We're going to take you to bonus coverage of the big finish between the Redskins and the Eagles. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.